Bueno, ahora sí vamos a empezar. Anybody who needs translation devices, we're there. By the way, our meeting is going to go from 9 and at the latest 12, because that is how long you're going to be here, the translator, and me. I have to leave at 12 too. So, vamos a empezar. Buenos días a todos. Esta es la junta de EJE Academies. Es una junta especial. Vamos a tener una reunión de 9 a 12. Nuestra intención es que el staff nos presente como mesa directiva elementos de la...
Yeah,
All right, so let's switch. So, our goal today is to get 3 presentations, and we can take public comment on the presentations. And action items, we have one at 11:45, but it may come sooner if the meeting progresses faster. So with that, I'm going to call the roll. Dr. Pedro Kaplan. Ms. Pacheco. Mr. Preciado, presente. And Escamilla and Sabu Pulatelli let us know that they couldn't come today. So with that, we are at item number 2. Any speakers on the presentations?
Yeah, I would like to talk to.
Would you like to hear the presentation and then speak to it? Why don't we do it that way? So let's go into presentation number 1, Facilities Master Plan. Now, in just for the board, we had a master plan. It led to a lot of construction when we didn't get all the funding we were hoping for. Aspects of it are being worked on, but I think because we don't have funding for anything, we need to see where we are now with regard to facilities, where funding could come for those facilities, and what are our highest needs that include potentially updating the TK kindergarten complex and using that language. The TK kindergarten complex to meet our needs. Because right now there's 4 classrooms and we're renting across the street for 3 of them because the TK require restrooms. And then the kindergarten has 3 classrooms, and those are suitable. They're dated buildings, and that along with the playground areas is what we're going to hear about. So without further ado, Griselda.
All right, thank you, President Preciado. And yes, you're correct. I want to give a little historical so people understand where we were. Even though I wasn't here, I'm going to also defer to Ms. Pacheco that she was here and maybe she can provide more details. But I did speak to our current project manager, and she did give me a lot of information as to what was, what became, and then where we're going, right? So that's what the presentation is going to give, and then what are our next steps, like as a school, as an organization, and maybe hear your discussion and maybe advice and thoughts about how we can pursue everything that we really want. All right. So what was this is the school. This is a picture of the school back when it was the original setting. You notice that the field had some baseball or some dirt lots on the side, and the portables again. The portables on here. These are still here, and then this part of the back is still here. This is the part along with the new building that was shifted. But I wanted people to see what the school looked like back, and Ms. Pacheco, when you guys first came, right? So that was without any changes. As you guys grew and moved into and added the middle school, these were all relocatables. So all of this is still here, and when you did the walkthrough, these are still here. But these, I believe, this was all the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is all the middle school, and these were the reloads in the middle school. And then this was also the middle school, like reloads. where now you see the lunch.
The after school program.
The after school, so there were additional reloads and we had like a parent center or some sort of resource center. So that was like their second phase back in the day, before construction. And then so the vision was, and I have notes because Joanne was very specific on the notes that she wanted me to share with you. So this was Cannon's vision for the final facility and what was permitted as a master plan. So Cannon, the architects, they created a master plan for the entire area. So this was their master plan, and notice how the areas labeled by letters are the areas that were to be improved and or constructed. So as you know, building M or M is the new building, that's what we have. But they had a lot of other projects in their proposal, especially the TK Kinder structures. So that was part of the master plan. So this is a rendering of the original Canon drawings as to what was going to be.
Because very quickly, and Eva can confirm this Canon master plan was taken to Cajon Valley, and when they included us in their bond from 2 years ago that didn't pass, or 4 years ago?
I think it was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, we were gonna get funded for that complex, but it didn't pass.
Right.
It lost like 2% or something like that. And it was like $7 million.
7 million.
7
But it
million.
was only for the TK kindergarten.
Yeah.
The complex, yeah.
Those are the layouts that we presented.
So, I mean,
Just so you know, that was the basis for going to the Home Valley to ask for the bond funding, and they were supportive, they included it, but it failed.
it failed. And this year, I think they also tried, but it also
Yeah, the board rejected it.
rejected it. So they've been trying. I think the partnerships we have with alcohol is good, and they've been very supportive of this plan. So the master plan drawings, they were done in 2021, and they went to DSA and they were approved. And all these buildings, the new construction, the site work also included all the demo and the portables that were brought in to make sure that the construction could happen. And then the new parking, there was the design that Canon made was 2 parking lots. They had one over here and one in the back. So if what I learned so far, that parking lots and cement, very expensive. And so as you can probably imagine, we didn't have enough money for all of this. Even though it's beautiful, we just didn't have enough money. So also another issue about having a lot of expenses was the ADA compliant. Because this is such an old school, anything you try to redo or update has to now be upgraded to that ADA, and it's super expensive to do that. And so the new lunch shelter, in addition to building F and also the cafeteria piece, was very expensive. And then the new buildings for M and P. So all this was looked upon in Spanish. So these are the actual drawings and permit plans that were submitted. So I don't expect to understand this, but this is what the other picture showed, but in the architect's rendition.
When you see, go ahead.
Yeah.
So this was all approved as far as the plan.
Yeah.
So it's still, I guess the upside is that once it's approved by the city and DSA and all that, they could go forward if you ever wanted to, right?
Right,
You would have
so,
to resubmit this. It depends.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Well, yeah.
It depends if, because the line for the drawings, I don't recall if it's for 5 or 6 years.
And that's why we're
Yeah,
good
that's
for
why.
it. Yeah.
So, that's why if we are committed to fundraising, it can be used. But if
that expired, it has to be redone.
It has to be redone. So one of the things that was also mentioned was the master plan permit, went through 2021, but was not feasible within the $30 million budget that we had for the loan. So even though Canon was told, hey, this exceeds our budget, can you go back to the drawing and make it so it fits 30 million? There was some issues, they did not want to do that. I don't know if you know the story, but I'm like, so how much were they over? They were $16 million over of the budget, of the 30 million originally that we have for the loan.
It's the TK kindergarten complex looks like a lot of the money was there.
Yeah, so it and the parking, the two parkings, they had two parkings on there. They had a drop off, and they also had a drop, they wanted to create Johnson Street as the drop off area. So that also had a lot of, so there was a lot of things in this plan that exceeded our budget. So I don't know why they didn't go back and redo it. What you had explained was because we were on a time crunch. If we didn't submit the plans to the state, we would lose the money. So it was like a rush, and this is what was submitted. Okay, so here's the money part. Monday.
I don't think necessarily that it was a rush,
Okay.
but it was after discussing the budget exceeded. And that we need to really prioritize what the school needs. And then that will for us, it was the middle school for the students because they didn't have anything. And because they are bigger kids, they needed bigger classrooms. So that's why.
Okay. So then we got the 30 million, and then EJE contributed 1.5 million. So, and this was through capital campaign or fundraising or
No, it was the
One-time reserves,
what is that?
reserves.
Okay, so EJE did contribute, making it a $32 million budget. So that was really good. But it wasn't going to be 46 million that they originally planned for. And the Spanish version. So the master plan cost estimates, these are estimates, and as you can see, the kinder and then building M, if you look at building M, that is the middle school. And it was projected at 19 million. So these are estimates from what I understand. Some of them were done and some of them were not. There is a daycare in there, which I'm thinking was a TK. So that's part of the kinder TK structure. So it gives you a good idea as to what they were looking at when they had to make decisions as to what we were going to cut. So the work not included in the master that was done is the outdoor classroom that we see here, the 3 basketball courts, the track and field. The field was not included from what I understand. They were not going to do anything to the field, and we were still over budget. So that was a decision that was made at some point too. That was really good because the kids love the field. I thought that was included originally in the plan, but no, it was never included. So that was added, and then the new elementary playground equipment, which that was added, and then the new shade structures were added, and then the fencing around the field was also added. So these are things that, from that, we had to, even though we had to make that reduction of 60 million, we had needs, and decisions were made to address those needs instead of all the things that were in the master plan. For the most part. There's the Spanish. So areas of adjustment. So this is the original plan, and what was done here is that the areas that were modified are being little explanation on those. As you go through each one, the main classrooms here, they were not rebuilt. They were just refurbished, right? So they were painted, they were, I don't think the floors were done, but the walls, they were painted inside and out. So nothing that,
Just to clarify, the grant, the funding was not to rebuild costing costs classrooms.
right,
It was just to remodel or do what was necessary.
Does that include air conditioning and the
Yes.
electrical?
But, however, something that was done, that was remarkable, the roof was the total roof was fixed. And the most important, the district
yes,
support. So, because the district support the roof, then we have money to fix the plumbing. The plumbing also was fixed because that was an issue that we have every year. Especially when it rains, the leaking, all the classrooms were leaking, all the classrooms have buckets because we didn't have enough to catch the rain. And then the plumbing was so damaged that every so often classrooms were like, we couldn't go in because
they were flooded.
the flood. So that was the reason why we received that grant. And the plumbing was done with that money, and also the painting and the air conditioning.
Yeah, and I understand Cajon Valley contributed 1.5 million, yeah, to do the roofs and AC, or they were really invested in helping out because the school was in really bad condition. So adjustment one was the upgrades to the existing building and existing restrooms. Triggered ADA compliant walkways throughout the campus. The cost of this upgrade was high and it was determined to hold off. So because again of the ADA triggers, they held off, you guys held off on a lot of things. Adjustment number two, this one, the new parking lot was determined not needed and parking along Johnson Street was to remain. The existing drop-off area on Grand Street was also to remain. This was determined a good reduction since it didn't take away from student spaces. Okay, so and then adjustment number three, up here, the lunch area. The kitchen was determined adequate in size for food service, and the kitchen addition in the master plan was therefore not needed. So there was a plan for a bigger kitchen or a bigger area, but that was not needed. The lunch shelter was likewise reduced in size, and the outdoor classroom added in its place. So that's where you see that addition to the outdoor classroom.
Just to clarify also with the kitchen. The kitchen was remodeled, and the only thing was not expanded. But it was restructured, so everything was feasible.
That's the building right next door.
Yeah, it's right next door. It was modernized,
Yes.
but it wasn't expanded like Canon had on their plans to. And then we had adjustment number 4, which is the kinder complex, the kinder TK complex. The kinder complex was originally funded by a developer, then by the local bond issued, and lastly by Prop 2 that we applied for the additional loan that we didn't get. And it has not been able to get funds to complete this portion. But has redesigned it with RCA due to the 60-foot setback required by pipeline on Renette. So there was apparently, when it was designed, they didn't take into consideration this pipeline that runs underground. And so they had to redesign the whole kinder TK structure to move it because of that 60 foot
Does it go through the property or does it go on the street?
in the street underneath the,
Oh, it's a easement.
right, so they have to be out 60 feet away from
Yeah.
it. So that was also an interesting fact for adjustment number 4, and then 5 was, where's 5? Up here in the new building. The building M reductions were minor, but included removing unnecessary doors, tack boards that could be added later, cubbies along the corridors, card readers and electric strikes for the doors and furniture, and equipment purchased directly by the school. So they built the middle school as designed for the most part. There were a little bit of tweaks. Adjustment 6, which is this right here, this is the play area. Outdoor play area was evaluated and was determined that 2 half-court basketball courts did not allow games, and the field renovation was not in the master plan. So there was a committee, and the PE teachers said the kids just don't have enough areas to play in. This was redesigned to include a track, soccer field, and 3 full basketball courts. The playground was then added to provide both new playground equipment for grades 1 to 5, but also shade for students adjacent to play areas and the outdoor. So that's what we're finishing up right now, is this area plus the shading. So these two. So at some point, I think the committee and the teachers, I think, had a lot of say. The PE teachers had a lot of say in the play areas of the kids. So I'm glad that was done. And then I think that's it. And everything is in the PowerPoint, just so people can read the adjustments. Yes, I will run that, yes, just so people can take this and read it. So, future facility plans. So we need to continue to engage parents, staff, and the community through the facilities committee, because there's a lot of need that the school still has. And so we need to continue with that. Pursue grants, partnerships, and other funding opportunities. I know there was a big drive to have a campaign, and I don't know how successful that was, but we need to have some sort of fundraiser, like very consistent. So we start raising money for these things that are priorities for the school, or apply for a grant. That's probably the easiest thing, but we need to research and do that. Develop a long-term facilities master plan. We have the master plan that was the original, but we kind of, as time went, they tweaked because we didn't have enough money. We need to really look at the TK Kinder complex, because I see just in my 1 year here that is a really critical need, and I think everybody would agree, the staff would agree as well. So I'm trying to focus on how can we make it a little bit better, not just the complex where the kinder is, but also that corridor where we still have all the relocatables that 3rd graders are in right now. We need to do something. I mean, to me, that is like, they're like 30, 40 years old, and we need to do something. So develop a long-term facilities master plan with now the new needs, based on what we have. Maintain and improve existing facilities, because even though our classrooms were modernized, there's still some needs. Floors, there's needs of paint. We just painted the middle school inside the classrooms because the paint was not paint that was easy to clean. So we just did that. So maintaining and improving and making sure we budget to maintain what we have. And then enhance classrooms, outdoor spaces, and student learning environments. For example, the building, this is the auditorium what we have right now. The speakers don't work. The projector doesn't work. Even though we have a big screen, the projector doesn't work. So we need to improve this space as well, because this is a space that everyone uses, that the kids use for PE every day. So that's the future planning as we move forward. And I would like the board to hear like what your ideas are in future planning and ideas that we can share with the committee. and start looking at what can we do with the money that we have, and then how can we plan for fundraisers or a capital campaign, or how do we do that with the community and our partners to start working on some of these items that we're not done yet. And so now it's Q&A.
So before we do Q&A, I want to see 3 minutes for 3 guests. So 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. If you want to use them, go ahead.
I don't think we have to use the mic, right?
We're trying to record it because 2 of our board members didn't come.
Okay.
So if you can, but you don't have to get up because you can use this one too.
Yeah, and that one's fine too.
Okay.
That one's fine.
I don't mind. So regarding the master plan for the facilities, in addressing the middle school building regarding the EMFs, my curiosity is around, was the same assessment done for the fields, the track, because it's within that same 100 feet recommendation from the state, the Department of Education, that no building, no athletic fields should be done. And in regards to, I think I heard Isabella mention Canada Science potentially using their same for potential fundraising, their same plan. It's a master plan, yes. Would there be considerations of changing that, especially since there is litigation with their report of them not, again, with, in regards to them creating that, and there was original issues with it. That's why the school has litigation. So would there be proposed to maybe not use their same plan if there is already, sounds like 2 main issues, 60 feet from the pipe and then the new middle school being built? It sounds like that might not be the best, the most trustworthy use of that plan, especially if it was, again, schools having that litigation. So, thank you.
Mr. Castelo. Pasa el micrófono, Jesús. Jesús a Jesús.
So my question is, as far as the TK kindergarten, do we have costs for what that upgrade is? I know we have a sizable reserve, so I know we're talking about grants and fundraising, etc. So yes, we can do that, but we all know we have the money. So at some point, we have to do something with that money. So I would say let's maybe use that as a consideration to address that, assuming I haven't seen a figure of what exactly particularly that area would actually cost to do that upgrade. So just my thought on that one. And then my question on I heard mentioned the facilities committee, and my concern with that is we still haven't seen the community parents included in that, even though there was, based on the documentation I've seen, they're supposed to be included in that. So my concern is if
Can
we're
you
going to...
clarify what is meant by it's supposed to be? What are you referring to?
So I wasn't in the board meeting, but one of the presentations that I saw, the facility committee is supposed to be made up of and staff, parents, community members. I think I could bring up the exact definition.
I was just trying to understand if now I know what you're referring to. Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
So it's if we're gonna say we're gonna do something, then we should actually do it. And if not, then we should say we're not gonna do it.
Okay.
So, and last comment, as far as kind of the forming like a development committee or development team, I think we've been there, done that. Didn't seem like it really worked that well. So I would say pursuing grants and kind of that side of the funding kind of strategy would be my preference versus trying to hire people to kind of build that department, because that takes a whole, there's a lot of infrastructure kind of coming from the nonprofit side. It's not just one person, it's a whole kind of team to build that, and I just don't see that being successful here.
¿Comentario? Bueno, en primer lugar, yo ahorita que estaba explicando nuestra directora ejecutiva, todo el programa de construcción, pues lo único que puedo decir es que, por ejemplo, venimos de que nos prestaron unos salones, éramos arrimados, arrimados ahí. Entonces, comentarlo de que lo que ha progresado el Academies, ¿verdad? Con el esfuerzo, ¿verdad? Y en eso estoy de acuerdo con mi tocayo, con el esfuerzo de la administración, de las familias y los miembros de la comunidad, porque esos miembros de la comunidad contribuyeron por $750,000, los donaron, ¿verdad? Recabando fondos, ¿no, José? ¿Verdad? Entonces, a donde estamos ahorita, ¿verdad? Pues sí es de congratularnos todos, ¿verdad? Y seguir trabajando en esa dirección, ¿verdad? De no dejar, como nos decía el doctor Martizarán y el doctor Ochoa, ¿no? Son 3 pies: la comunidad, escuela, padres de familia, administración, pues. Entonces, nada más que felicitarnos, ¿ya? Hacerlos así, no sé, ¿verdad? Pero hay cosas más que hacer todavía, ¿verdad? Definitivamente ahí está, pero es un trabajo colectivo, ¿no? Para sacarlo adelante, ¿verdad? Es todo, José.
Muchas gracias. So, Emma and Karen, if you want to comment, so we have a presentation, we have some public comment. Where are you in your thinking about where we go? And I'll ask Eva, and then I'll share my perspective. So,
Yo creo que me oyen, ¿verdad?
estamos grabando, por eso estamos usando. Pero,
Bueno.
yo le traigo el micrófono.
Gracias. Bueno, sí quisiera comentar en la presentación, especialmente porque nos deja una visión clara de las necesidades. Y al igual que cuando se decidió que la prioridad en ese entonces era la middle school, porque era una necesidad grande para los niños, no para nadie más. En este momento creo que la prioridad debe ser kindergarten, porque no se trata de modernizarlo, sino de reconstruirlo, porque si queremos traer a los niños de TK tiene que ser algo planeado, y definitivamente sí estoy de acuerdo en que sea no necesariamente lo que estaba antes, sino un nuevo plan, porque se necesita rediseñar. Ese es por un lado. Por el otro lado, de acuerdo al diseño que tenemos ahorita, el costo del kindergarten hace 3 años, o cuando nos sometimos a Cajón Valley, era de 7 millones. Ahorita no creo que sea 7. Va a ser más. Entonces, si tenemos un costo y podemos decir, esta es la meta, entonces podemos hacer, ¿qué vamos a hacer para lograr esa meta? Y, por ejemplo, puedo decir, porque participé en el fundraising cuando empezamos, tuvimos más éxito cuando tuvimos un consulta para fundraising, porque, y digo que fue, en vez de tener a alguien full time, it was a consulta, con la claridad de que no iba a salir dinero del budget, sino del dinero que trajera él.
Ah,
So, porque si no, se sacan de los fondos y eso siempre fue claro para el consulta. Entonces, y puedo decir que el mayor número o el mayor fundraising fue a través de donaciones, donors. No fue grants, no fue kermeses, no, it was through donors. Entonces, y fue muy exitoso, porque ya después de eso no.
So, who are the majority of donors?
Pues fueron corporaciones
Ah,
y corporaciones y pues gente que tenía dinero, que eran conexiones del fundraiser. So, entonces, esa es mi contribución para
Karen?
prioritize.
Gracias. So the first thing that came to me as we were going through it is that I feel like I agree about the kinder, the TK, but I do think that so we're saying this is a recommendation for the facilities committee, right? I do think that there should be an examination of like the immediate needs, like if there's issues with bathrooms and things like that, because you don't want to end up in the situation you were in where the buildings got to a point of disrepair, right? I mean, not disrepair, but where the district stepped in and all that. So I think that, to me, those are the two priorities. And also just to address the question about the facilities committee, I mean, my understanding is prior to this board, we didn't have a facilities committee, is that correct? Or was there a committee? Oh, there was a committee, okay.
There's always been.
There's always a committee. Okay, so it seems to me that, you know, people can always be added to the committee. To me, it's not like a set in stone thing. And I think what happens with the facilities committee, at least in my experience, is that when there's a lot of things going on, there seems to be a lot of people interested. When it starts to, like, after the middle school is done and things like that, I'm sure there's people that are like, okay, well, that's done. You know, my experience in schools is people don't think of the facilities as an ongoing issue. You see what I mean? Whenever I've been in this situation, it's always been when it's either new construction or there's something that has to be refurbished. Then all of a sudden, all these people want to be involved. So I think that to look at it more from that perspective, it's not like, oh, someone's excluded or included. It's just, what are the needs at the moment and who's available to be part of that conversation? So I think, I just want to put that out there, as it's not an either or, it's just, it's the reality, I think, of how communities work. At least that's just from my experience being in many different schools and boards. And so anyway, so I agree with Ms. Pacheco. As far as the fundraising piece, you know, there's different ways to approach it, and I agree that, you know, you can have a consultant that can, you know, bring the funds in from corporate donors and things. But also, one of the things, I used to be involved with the Monarch School. Do you know the Monarch School in San Diego? One of the things that the Monarch School does I don't know if they still do it, but I used to when I was involved with them. They do a fantastic yearly event where the students present, and you know, they sell tickets, they have performers. Anyway, I think if EJE could do something like that on a regular basis, because it does two things. One, sorry, I'm getting very passionate about this, but this is what I see as like, when because I haven't really been involved in EJE, but my other experiences is like, those events do a couple of things. One is, it's powerful for the students, because you highlight some of your students, and some of them can be alumni, right? So there's probably alumni that have bands now, or that are, you know, doing poetry slams or whatever. You invite those alumni back, and then that becomes part of the situation, and you have it at a venue where there's food. And I just think that if you do something like that on an annual basis, that in and of itself, it may not raise the same amount of money, but you're doing it not just for the, you're not doing it just for the funding. You're doing it also to expand the community. Because other people in El Cajon will be like, well, what is that event that EJE is having? They may have never even been in this school and have lived here for 30 years, right? But now you have this event that starts happening and people want to be part of it. So that, for me, I think I'm not an expert in doing the fundraising part. Any board I've been on, usually we have someone that, that's their deal, and then they just tell us, this is what we did for capital campaign, great, But I do think events like even once a year, and you would have a committee, and like at Mark School, the committee was made up of board members and community people. But anyway, that's my recommendation.
Thank you. So a couple of things. One of the successes of the committee of the fundraising before is the exceptional achievements of the students that were demonstrated early on. And so we were at 60%, 70% grade level proficiency. We've lost that. We don't have that. And so I think one of the things we need to do is, if we prepare for some sort of capital campaign, is to think about where we are academically and see if we can show that we are making improvements. And so that's something that is going to be critical. The other thing is, we as board members need to be, or our 501c3, that's who would receive the donation. We need to decide that that's something we want to do. That will require us to be very involved and very public. I can tell you, just based on the little press we've been getting recently, my contacts are very concerned. They're very concerned about some of the misinformation being provided by the public with their testimonies. I basically have to say, it's not true. It's a reality that they live or they experience, but our school works fine, everything's working. We're trying our best, we're making changes, we've hired an exceptional executive professional staff, and we're making progress. But the commentary, the social media, that kind of stuff, I will not use my contacts right now until we settle down and we figure out that our professional work stands on its own.
I agree with that.
Another thing that I think is very important is I want to see the executive director work with the school community and decide if they want a master plan to improve the facilities. Because I want full community school support from the teachers, the staff, the parents, everyone. I think we also need to make a decision if we want to start enrolling more people from the immediate community. Because I don't think everybody that enrolls here is from here, quote unquote, the Johnson path. And so the more people we attract here, the better it's going to be for us. Because, well, we have one family here that lives 2 or 3 doors down, and they're here. And they're here, they're very interested, they're trying to get as much information as they can. And so those are the kinds of things that are going to change our positionality. Like the other day I got an email from a friend in Sacramento with somebody videotaped me and shared it or something. I think, I don't know who it is, but they put it up on Facebook. So I said, well, we're having growing pains as an organization, and our books are balanced. We're making strides. We're bringing in professionalizing a lot of our work and our staff. We had some severe caps that we can't discuss publicly, but we can move forward. Borrón y punto nuevo. We need to go forward. And I'm very interested in seeing in about a year's time, we can be in that space where maybe we as a board may agree to do a capital campaign. In the meantime, I think we need to spend about a year assessing what our needs are. And I'm not interested or don't have the time as a board member to collect that information, but Grisela, if you come to us in September or something and say, this is what we're going to do inside the school, and maybe collaborate with Cajon Valley and ask what a professional consultant could do for us in figuring out what our plan is. So I think we need to manage our enrollment in our that kind of plan with whatever we decide to do to seek. And like, we want to reach out to our assembly people or our state senators and say, we've been left out because Cajon Valley refuses to put bonds, so we can't get into the competition with the other school districts. Or, there was a bond that passed, well, it didn't pass locally, but the big state bond did pass in the billions, and we just couldn't compete because our school district that we're affiliated with decided not to fund, it didn't get it. And then in this cycle, they're not even going up for election. So I think if we had more community residents, we could go to Cajon Valley. Because I believe everybody's a resident, right? But if we're in the Johnson neighborhood, and I think it's critical that we see how much enrollment we're getting. We don't have one more piece in building that family resource, and I think it's a daycare. So we have a 4th grade and on, we have a pipeline. But what happens, not 4th grade, 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
So what's happening with the 2 and the 3-year-olds? Where is their daycare? And so we need to think about that, because if we're going to want a pipeline, I think the other thing that we need to become strong messengers of is that dual language is an academic benefit, regardless of your background. Because your executive function is improved, your ability to learn other things. Without providing you direction, just through consensus, I think we would appreciate seeing what structure you would create to build a community, a school community that starts identifying things. We want this, we want that, we want this other thing. And it's very important that we combine that with an experienced, licensed professional consultant that can help us match the desires of the school with what we can do. From that, then we can ask for another company to do a master plan together. I'm very sensitive to our growing special needs students. What does that mean in terms of facilities? Because, if, for example, the trailers or even the permanent structures, are they suitable? There's a lot of things we can do in that direction, but I think it's reasonable. And I say that as a member of the Chula Vista City Council. I started recently working with a group that works with people who just had strokes and are recovering. And even though that I'm a disabled person, I didn't know that it would be really helpful to have railing in the activity areas, because the railing allows people to balance themselves. Now I know that because that's why I use this. That's how I balance. But also if you're sight impaired, there are different things you can do to support the sight impaired. And so these are the kinds of things that would be very helpful to have. And so as a board, we did want us to get this update and get a sense of where we could go. And then, maybe next May we would be in a better position to decide if we want to hire a fundraising consultant to do minor capital work, raise money for that, or we want to engage with the school district to see if we can promote bond issuance. There's multiple strategies, but I think it's very important for us to get back to the say, when you send your children to EJE, Jesús, you always say this, we're not going to be better than the regular public school, why operate? So I want us to get back to high functioning, high student outcomes. And when I first joined the board, I started that conversation with my memo. I said, I want to have the goal of 80% student proficiency. Well, oh my God, I created but it was just an aspirational goal that if we were all working towards it, but it became a flashpoint. And so I'm interested in seeing what the school community comes up with and all of the players that contribute to that conversation. The academic staff, the professional staff, the special new staff that we have here now that knows what they're going to need to work with students that have special or extraordinary needs. And so I think that'll be critical. We also need to move forward with our financial positioning. Right now, we have a presentation that everybody's been seeing, that we've been seeing forever, that EJE provides us. And I think we have to have different presentations that help us create literacy. So we need to have reserves. They're not disposable or unnecessary. Reserves are needed for our $30 million debt. We need to carry certain amounts. We also need to carry a cash capacity. So if you spend it down, then you don't have a cash capacity. But for example, we're not going to start getting refunded from our special ed provider until February. So all the people that are working, the director, the 2 psychologists, the 5 teachers, and all of the classified, we're covering that cost until we start getting the recuperation in February. And I don't know how long it's going to take to true us up. But thank God we have reserves because we did that. Now, if you recall, if we continue to work with Cajon Valley, our cost is going to just go up by $1 million. No new services, just a $1 million increase. And we decided to pursue, and there's a lot of folks that offer you perspectives on what you could be doing better, but they forget that you brought us that. You've got us rechartered, and you started putting together. Until April, it was you. You were carrying many of those things, and so now that you have a bigger team, a team that we can rely on, I think we will be in a better position to start making some strides, and that you don't have to be doing the day-to-day operation, the superstar work, the superhero work, leap over tall buildings, building stuff, even running the morning check-in. I mean, calm down. We can't do it all. But this is all growth. And Jesus, with all due respect, we're 20 years ahead now. So we have come a long way. But I think it will be an opportunity this year for us to use it as a reset, a reboot, if we can use that language with the computers, and say, what is the next 20 years going to look like? And what is the foundation that we're putting together for those next 20 years? I can be convinced to start talking to my contacts that we need to bring more resources here, but let's see where we go. I mean, I need to start leaving board meetings a little happier, a little more satisfied. And, quite frankly, I interacted with a parent last week. The last time we met, I just basically said, I feel threatened by it. Why should I feel threatened coming here as a volunteer? But I shared with her, and I think that helped us because we had a better meeting that day. But, I usually have police in my meetings. And somebody threatens me, they get removed. I never want to see that at the school. And that's why we need to find a new way to tone, find a new tonality. There's all these little websites and of news venues that are doing articles on us. They never even take the time to contact me. And yet I'm in the article. So I think all of the people we can go to, our previous board members, and even the alumni. If you just go by some of the communications that come out from our staff to our community, oh, it's so terrible over there. No, it's not terrible. the school is gonna continue. We're a ship, you know, Captain's fall, this ship is not gonna fall. This ship is gonna continue. But we need to all be on the same page, because how do we go to Cajon Valley and say, how do we go to the immediate community and say, this is a great place for you to bring your children? This is a great place for you to do this. And so here's an exciting thing, you're having the soccer tryouts. I think that's the kind of new energy that it's gonna bring. And I'm seeing some emails coming out from the leadership now that are going out to the school. All of that tells me there's something here. Kids coming to pick up backpacks, all of that stuff are important resources, but I think we can do better in working with the entire community, because I would love to see people having their kids who, like the Castellanos, that live just 3 doors down, because we have a program. And so, do you guys agree that we should wait for the executive director to figure out what the campus stakeholder group is going to look like if they continue to call it the facilities committee? Yeah. And then work with the school district or even the county to figure out who is an appropriate consultant that we can use to update. And those two have to speak the same language.
Can I add to what?
Yes, go ahead.
I just,
Remember, we're taking
oh, sorry.
make sure Maxine and Yolanda get this.
I just want to add to that because I think we kind of forget, and I know because I've only been here. I started in August, right? And in August, it was just Griselda. Like, we have to be honest. Like, you bring in a new executive director, and it takes a year for any leader to even understand what's happening. And I think she did a good job in listening, but then at the same time, for all the right reasons, I think, teachers were organizing, right? So that's a lot to manage as a new leader, because you're already walking into a situation that you don't know the history. And I mean, because I came on the board not knowing a lot of the history, right? So now, to her credit and to the board's credit, we built a team. Well, that team now, as a new principal, as a new human resources, as a special ed, especially the special ed, right? Because you have a whole team just for that. They need to now come into this culture and understand the workings, but they're going to be developing it together. So I agree with Jose. I think this is the year to just okay, let's start to build it. Because whatever we build now, that is the next 20 years, going to Jose's point. And I think what happens is we get stuck in the past and we're like, well, this is how it was. Well, since COVID, a lot of the world has changed. Since the administration we have right now in our federal government, look how that's impacting schools and communities every day. I mean, special ed's being threatened, right? So if we don't have leaders who can feel supported to do the best they can, coming in new, but also having wealth of experience. I mean, the team that's here now, I have utter confidence that they have the skill set to do what needs to be done. And I agree with Jose, we have to focus on the academics. And I think you have great teachers.
Number one.
Yeah. And we build that, and you're right, this is the year to just say, okay, we've done the building, we still have issues with the middle school, we're gonna fix that, right? But there also has to be trust. And I think that's what has been kind of difficult being on this board is we show up here as volunteers, and at the same time, I've always believed in this school. I've known the Pacheco's since the beginning, right? And I maybe haven't been here, but I do know that there's a lot of good that can happen. And you're right, Jose, I wasn't aware, how many students from the local community are coming here. Because that really should be, how are we attracting them? So if only the news that gets out is all the contention, why would, especially if I live in the neighborhood and I see all these parents protesting, it's why would I send my kid there, right? So we do have to think about that perception. And yes, we have tensions, we have struggles, but we can work through them. We're a community that we all want the same thing. The thing is, we don't always have the same ideas about how to get there, But we have a school leadership team now that I believe, will be able to communicate much more effectively than this past year, partially because you just had one person, right? I mean, you had the principal and the teachers, but now we have a structure. So if there's an issue with a personnel issue, you know, oh, okay, there's a human resources person I can talk to. Oh, I could finish up, sorry. But anyway,
focus on the, so all of that is
Yes.
connected back
That's all
to
connected back to
the
what you said, the
facilities, right?
facilities, yes.
The facilities.
Thank you.
That's why.
Well, that was my point, is that they have to start that conversation.
Yeah. Facilities and how it's related, because the capital campaign is challenging in certain
Well,
circumstances.
I agree with you, but even for me, it will be too soon.
Yes.
September to us, Griselda, for something.
Oh,
Yes, because at this time, really, the focus should be on what you mentioned, the internal work with the teachers, with the students, with the staff. So that will be my recommendation at this time. Not necessarily that she will not do it, but I think at this time is that. The other thing is the, as Griselda mentioned, the budget. The budget also needs to be how much is being expended on maintenance. So, because maintenance is a huge part to maintain the building, and that's part of the budget. So that needs to be clear. And also because, the reason we got the grant for the building, it was the student achievement.
yeah, of course.
So that's why the state granted the funding. And for the last 4 years, that is being stuck. Even though we have personal bilingual, but yet the program is starting growing. So
just to recap, I think everyone's points are well taken. Griselda, we'll wait for you to let us know
Yeah.
what we're doing. I think it's very difficult for us to support progress on any kind of capital or minor capital until we hear from you. And we certainly want to hear that a stakeholder group was constructed, and if September's too soon, that's fine with me. If it takes 5 years to do this, that's fine with me too. But I really want to make sure that we will embrace a school-driven and then consultant verified plan. And then we can decide as a board how much we want to get involved, how much we want to be supportive, because right now, at least the next presentation is, or the third presentation is what I'm really interested in, from, what's the academic growth plan, because we have some real severe gaps, particularly in the middle school, and I'm interested in seeing that. So, I think we have a consensus that we're sharing with you, that we want to make sure whatever that facilities committee becomes is representative, that everyone can submit stuff to it, blah, blah, blah. And then that it's followed up with a professional consultant so that we're all assured by next year or whenever you decide that it's time, that we can be helpful as a board. We think we have a working facility beyond that. So the next presentation that we're going to have from you guys is on parent engagement. And the premise here is when we went up for charter renewal, we had the committees that are required. But I think that charter renewal didn't mention the multitude of other committees where parents are involved. And so our goal today is to get introduced to parent involvement Because I think we've been hearing that parents don't have a voice or they don't have a way to communicate. And so I just want to see what the school structures are and how soon we can populate them. The challenge that I would see is if we have the same 4 or 5 parents involved. I'd love to see the kind of involvement we've seen in other schools where it's 200 or 300 parents. And that's a critical mass that can say, we had input. So let us know. So we'll hear your presentation and then we'll take comments from our 3 speakers and then the board will have a discussion.
All right, thank you, Jose. And just to let you know, I tested the OWL. The OWL has a speaker and it picks up all of us. The mic makes it better. But because we're such a small group, my voice is being picked up right now. Okay. So I don't need the mic. But definitely, we want to make sure that this is recorded so our colleagues can view it later if they're very interested. And also we upload it on our website as well. So for parent engagement, this is a topic that I think we've been working on this past year, among other things. And because I've been getting a lot of different feedback, a lot of different understandings of what parent engagement looks like or what it doesn't look like. So I want to make sure we have like a starting ground so parents understand what they can do with their own time because everybody's different, everybody can donate their time differently. So the first thing is the parent engagement at EJE. We want to create pathways that are clear. Communication is clear. That topic of communication has every meeting, every place I go is communication. And it doesn't matter if you're in the after school program or if you're with the teachers or if you're with classified staff, we need better communication. So that's very clear. So building those relationships by making sure people understand our calendar, they know what's happening in our school, it's going to build trust. So that's how we start building relationships with community, with staff, parents, everyone. And then with that trust comes participation. They're going to want to come to whatever we have to offer. And with them coming, they'll learn more about us. They'll learn more about if it's a workshop or a committee. They'll learn more about EJE and what we're doing. And then they learn and build skills, which is important in our families. And eventually they become managers. So that is the number one ultimate goal, right? So all of us who worked in schools I worked in schools for 30 years. So it is difficult to find parent leaders. We can create, we can have workshops, we can have, academies for parents, but out of 100 parents that they go, let's say, for your leadership academy, there's 2 that stand out that, oh, can you become part of our LCAP community? So then that's where we get into the same parents are doing the same thing, right? But if we follow, my goal is to hopefully engage more parents, a diverse group of parents, that then we can make leaders in different committees, depending on the time. So the parent committees that we currently have that are active, and we want to increase the number of participation. And some of them are new that you see right here. So our newest one that we're trying to create this next year is our Community School Site Council, which is a typical school site council that we all know. But the community piece comes from the part of also asking our community partners to join the committee. So we have teachers, we have parents, we have staff, classified staff on school site council, but now we're adding a community member, right? A business, it could be somebody like Molina Health that we already work with, BLCI, or partners that already know us. So we're going to create this committee. This is new, so it's exciting. But we already have committees like ELAC. We have that committee up and running. We do need more parents, so we're going to try with our family and community manager. I want to make that committee at least double or triple size because I think there's only 4 or 5 parents that attend. Yeah, yes, okay. but we're gonna try. And this is an issue in every school, by the way, don't think every one, so we're gonna try. We also have a PAC that, it's a parent advisory committee that also advises on the LCAP. I'm not sure if it met quite frequently, but we want to make sure that this committee has parents who are interested in budgets, interested in understanding how budgets work, how the LCAP works, what are restricted monies. So I'm going to announce this one as, if you're a parent who likes this type of conversation, then a PAC would be great to give us feedback for the LCAP.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just, so, just my understanding. So how is the PAC, I understand the community aspect of the school site
Yeah.
council, but typically a school site council does some of what you're saying, the PAC is.
Yes.
So how are you distinguishing those two?
Well, the Community School Site Council can be a PAC, but we haven't established that yet. So I want to establish the Community School Site Council, and if it wants to do the work of the PAC, we can, but it doesn't exist yet. So that would be something.
The PAC exists right now.
We just have the PAC right now.
That's what you have.
Yeah, that's what we have. And it's not like, there's not a lot of people that attend, not a lot of parents that attend this. So I'm thinking that by having a community school site council who discusses all restricted funds, which is Title I,
Right.
then maybe they would also want to discuss the LCAP too.
So then the PAC is coming.
And
That's why I need to
yeah.
understand.
No, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure you understand what it is. Right now, this is what it is.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have Overthrough This, which is our family connection, very active group of parents. We get about 12 to 15 parents. We want to expand that, so we were expanding it from night meetings to also having morning meetings. So hopefully our night meetings become more attended. It's usually a morning group. And we talk about the virtues that EJE stands for, that was founded on. And it's not a place where parents come and just talk about like budgets or English language learners. It's a place where they come and talk about how they're doing as people, as parents, and what their struggles are. And we align it to the virtue, whether it's responsibility or what's another virtue?
Respect,
Respect. So the virtues that the kids are working on, on a monthly basis. And then Friends of EJE was a kind of like an activity for fundraising. They usually focus on the fall festival and the spring festival or the multicultural fair that we have now, or any type of fundraiser. And then we have the Music Parent Committee, which they focus on all the activities and concerts, fundraisers to benefit the music groups, which we have 3 groups in music. And then we have a food distribution volunteer group that specifically helps with the food distribution. But we do want to expand our volunteers to not just do the food distribution, but also be in the classrooms. I think we need to create a better structure as to parents had a lot of confusion last year with the application and who needs to do the fingerprinting and TB tests, and I think we need a cleaner, more simplified process so parents don't feel like it's a barrier. I felt like it was a barrier, at least from what I understood. So we need to make sure the volunteer process is more cleaner. I'll be working on that as well. But these are things that already exist. The only new committee is the School Site Council Committee, which I think is an important committee that's going to support a lot of the feedback and a lot of understanding about budgets and funding.
Can you describe how these committees advise the school leadership?
So all these committees, like I said, the Community School Site Council advises on restricted funds and or LCAP if we do the PAC. The PAC is currently advising on any type of item that happens in the school setting. It's a parent advisory committee, usually to the principal. The ELAC is the English language, the English advisory committee, and they're focused only on our English learners, and they advise the principal on the programs, are they being effective, what else can teachers do, This is when the principal can present data on English learners and our LTELs and how they're doing. Very important committee. That's why I want more parents to attend this meeting. And then we do this, always informs me, because I attended through this, as to the stability of the parents and the issues that they're facing on a personal level and how they're interpreting how our students are doing and growing. So that's an important part too under SEL, social emotional learning. Friends of EJE, that one I want to expand because we do need a lot of fundraising, and besides the 2 festivals that we have, I think we could do more. And I think these funds can go back into the classroom to support field trips. But I think we need a little bit more like discussion with that committee, maybe grow it as well. The parent music committee, this is a strong group and they've been working really hard. They're an official committee, they have minutes and agendas, and they're very organized. I think their next level is they're thinking about developing a foundation, an EJE music foundation. So they're, like I said, they're a great group, great leaders, but they focus on the music. So maybe aligning music and Friends of EJE. Yeah, I think they're doing the same thing for different purposes.
And one of the things that comes to mind, and I know we're talking about
Yeah.
parents, but didn't this year, there was a student advisory council?
Yes.
So I could see an interaction between like the student advisory council and Friends of EJE and music parent committee where the students can get reports like from the parents, like this is what we were talking about, and then the students can take it, you know, there's a student council, whatever you call it, but I can definitely see those connections.
Yes, and we're all on the student side, like you said, we're developing the student leadership portion for ASB.
ASB, that's right.
Yeah, so we're starting an ASB at the middle school this year, so that's going to be also up and growing because EJE has never had an ASB. They've had leadership, but we do have student leaders.
You know what's so exciting? So this is kind of off topic, but it's really, I went to the graduation, one of the, graduation, actual graduation, and the response of the students for those student leaders, I got emotional. Like, and I was sitting next to one of the parents because his daughter was one of the people, and it was just like so cool. And I just thought, wow, what a great, a little nervous little kid. Anyway, but they had the support of all the students. So to me, that was just very heartwarming and seeing like, yeah, like once you start to develop those student leaders, I just need to show that.
And of course the volunteers is, the volunteers always feed us, even when we're out there with the food distribution, they're always giving us feedback on how we can improve things. And some of the, like last two weeks ago, there was a lady across the street who's not a parent at all. And she just came over to help out because she saw us out there. And then she had a little boy, and I asked the little boy, hey, what school do you go to? And I think he said one of the schools down there, Montgomery or Chase, I'm not sure which one he said. And I said, why don't you come to our school? So it's really interesting that volunteers can be anyone. And community members or parents, typically parents, right? But in that situation, it was just, they saw us, and who knows, maybe I recruited a student. So, anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Can you talk about, so for each of these committees, what I'm interested in knowing is how do they communicate with the administration? And then what are we developing as their expectation for that communication to come to the board? I think the board needs to be the last resort. We delegate all the authority to run the school to you.
Right.
We should only be hearing, in my view, the system failed, and here we are telling you what's up. So I'm interested in knowing what kind of structure or literacy the parents will gain so that they can benefit from having reliable 40-hour-a-week structures they can go to. They don't have to wait for the once monthly meeting to resolve something for their child or resolve something policy-wise. So that's an inquiry. Ever you have another inquiry?
Well, I just want to add on that to what you mentioned, but also as you mentioned, the volunteers. Also, I think with the volunteers needs to be someone to include everyone. Because what we saw in the past was little pieces and not necessarily connected. And it was like a competition. So that's something because if also, I don't know if the volunteers in there can be also volunteers that only they want to volunteer in the classroom. And I think that all was closed because it was very difficult for some parents, that's what they say, for them to go into the classrooms. And it was great before because we had a open door policy. They just come, sign, and they go to the classroom to support the teacher or to support the students, because the teacher was able to say, I need you to support with this. Also, there's volunteers that cannot come to the school, but they are willing to do work at home or to support the teachers doing something, not necessarily coming to the school. Because at this time I think that piece is missing of the parents that really feel that they are welcome, everyone, regardless of who they are, that they are welcome. So, because in order to achieve, in order to increase the student achievement, also parents are a very key piece of this. So I think those are the two areas.
So, Teresa, I wanted to take the next 5 minutes to finish your PowerPoint, and I know it has answers.
I was just realizing the next slide answers that one. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go through it real fast and then we can talk. So these are the three connecting points that the parents can participate based on advise and lead, connect and build community, and then serve and support, right? So of course the principal oversees the advice and lead, the PAC, the ELAC, the Community Oversight Council. This is where parents provide input and strengthen the school planning, and I'm also involved when it comes to the LCAP as well. The connect and build community, this is where we have parents who want to support, whether through fundraising or through this, where they come together and they support each other along the same lines. If they organize a fundraiser for a festival or anything for a certain grade level, they're supporting that classroom work with teachers. And then the serve and support, these are typically our volunteers, our parents who have a focus, like the music parents, that they're going to support the music program. And I think the music program is so robust with 3 different groups, and this year we're making them part of the master schedule. So they will be within the classroom structure, not just after school, like an after school program. So that's critical. So the support and serve is a very important part, because that's where we can diversify the times that parents are available so they can come and volunteer. And then the parent workshops, this is another way parents can volunteer and depending on their availability. But we had a surveys go out, and we had parents wanting more information, more training on technology. So we will have technology workshops for them, along with English as a second language. They want to continue learning English. We have PICA coming in for math for parents, because we had PICA last year, and with that group, we realized that they were very interested also in learning math to help their child. So we're going to organize that as well. And then also English for literacy. Parents need to know how they can help their child be biliterate, and they need to have those skills. So whether they're Spanish dominant or English dominant and they're helping their child learn that second language, they need to know, give skills so they can take home and support that, what teachers are doing in the classroom. And then navigating middle school, I had a lot of parents that want workshops on how do we deal with the behaviors, the hormonal and emotional instability of a middle schooler. And I think that's a workshop that all the middle school parents I think would benefit from. But one of the parents said, well, why only middle school parents? We need to prepare. And I'm like, you're right. So for every parent. So these are another way parents can participate if they can't volunteer or join a committee or anything like that. And then new opportunities, we want to expand the parent workshops and create a PTO. There's been some conversations about strengthening our parent-teacher organization. So we're exploring these ideas and expanding different workshops, like for parent leadership. I think parents were asking, well, how does this board meeting work? And they understanding policies and procedures and what's the difference between a policy and a procedure. So I think we can expand some of the workshops to also offer that information along with the PTO. What is a PTO? What's the difference between a Friends of EJE and a PTO and a community school site council? So understanding what that structure is going to look like and how the teachers view it, because the teachers also have to participate in a PTO. So the goal is to just empower parents to feel included, to feel welcome, to feel like there's a place for you. It doesn't matter if you're the quiet parent and you don't want to be in a committee, but you can also participate in these other ways. So we want to make it as diversified, just like we have in the classroom. Diversified learners is we have diverse parents that participate in different ways. And this is the culminating piece is we want to create that welcoming environment, build a relationship to connect with families and community. We listen to the feedback, listen to what the needs are within the family, and then invite them to what we have to offer or create different avenues so that they can feel comfortable. Oh, I'm interested in that. And then that's what's going to create that, hopefully that drive of saying, I want to be part of the school site council, or I want to be part of Friends of EJE, and they'll become the leaders that we need. And then empowering parents, we want to invite them, create bilingual menus, making sure everything is translated and for everyone, whether it's a workshop or a flyer. We want to make sure that we're clear as to everything needs to be in both languages. Remove barriers. Some parents can only come in the morning, some parents can only come at night, some parents, I even offered, how about Saturday? Oh, I can do Saturday. So how do we have the staff to offer the diversity of time, right? To remove the barriers of participation. And then the building the leaders, and then closing that loop. You shared, we learned, we acted, instead of we shared, but nothing happened. Closing that gap. And then monitor. We need to document how many parents are participating in what. We need to give feedback after every workshop. We need some surveys. Was this helpful? Was it not? Then we don't repeat the same thing again. And then stronger engagement. The goal is to broader representation of parents, build trust. We make better decisions, okay? Because we get more feedback. And we build better family relationships and family leaders. That's what we want. We have stronger student support. When students have issues, then parents already understand what we are and how we have our system set up. So there's that support for students, and at home, they're better equipped to support biliteracy at home. And then we see that visible impact because families will see the impact in kids and their academic performance, and then we'll see it also when we do have meetings with parents and the feedback, the type of feedback that they're giving us. So that's the product, right? And in the board lens, we want to make sure we have active parent groups, that if they do come and present at a board meeting, that they are presented in a positive way. It's not always a complaint session, right? Volunteer involvement, workshop participation, and then new families engaged. We want to see different families that don't come. And staff has told me, well, it's only these families, but why? Let's figure out why the 85–90% of the other parents are not participating. Representation, that creates that representation, that when you're getting feedback, if you don't have a diverse group of parents giving you that feedback, you're not making global decisions for the whole organization. And then addressing those barriers are number one. And then an impact. Changes informed by parent input. If we have changes, it's always verified by parent input. The LCAP, as we're changing the action steps, it's always, the parents gave us this feedback, the teachers, and they all align, so we need to change this. So, and then the shared leadership. I think parents need to feel like they understand, they have input, and then we all shift it together. I think that piece is missing right now.
So, I may ask you, because since I know you, who's doing all this work? Because it should be the whole school's work, but how is this going to get accomplished? Do we have new personnel?
So we have our new family and community engagement manager. So I'm going to work very closely along with the principal to organize these committees, the committees that already exist, number one, especially the new one, to make sure that all parents are informed. Once they all understand that we use Parent Square and they all have it downloaded, because I think our technology workshop is number one. So once we have the majority of the parents that we have their addresses, we have their correct email, we have their correct cell phone, our communication is going to improve. And I think we would get more buy-in with like night meetings, morning meetings, Saturday meetings, as we move into these, the new committee and or the existing committees. At least that's my plan, is to continue working on the committees that you saw, with the community and family engagement, with the principal, and with the new director of special ed. Because special ed does have other committees and workshops that they're thinking about doing as well.
I was going to say, okay,
I want to touch.
You would.
Nomás quiero decir, be careful.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a lot of work. And like for example, because I started committees, so who will be in charge?
Oh, the committees.
Like if I'm on the school site council and we are having discussions, but if I have questions, who to go to? Is the principal, is the parent engagement, or is you?
So
Because that's something that needs to be very clear, and everyone knows, like, if I have this question, I need to go to the parent engagement person. If she doesn't answer, okay, I need to go to the principal. Okay, if the principal don't answer me, then I go to Griselda. If Griselda, then I need to go to the board.
Yeah.
But I hope that with this structure, all the issues are resolved within this structure. And not necessarily that we don't want them to come to the board. But I think at this time, because you already have a team, people who will be working on this, but they need to know who to go to.
So Karen, go ahead.
Related to that, and I think part of it is you have the parent engagement person, they're gonna know, and I think like, especially for school site council, well, it's community site council, but there's a set structure, right? And I believe that the most important thing, just to kind of echo Vera, is that, you know, each of these groups, you know, just meeting with them and saying, okay, we need to have a clear structure. But then the pathway of communication, I did this the same state, we did a one sheet, when I was like the department chair, like, who do you go to with these questions? And it could be the same flow chart for every committee, because really it would be the head of the committee. And then, you know, so I think that you can resolve that just by having every committee get the exact, and I'm sure the parent engagement person knows this, but so that everyone knows this is the response structure. And if it's a special needs, it goes over here. So I think that that's a really good recommendation and something that's pretty doable, especially for parents. Is like, what if I'm on 3 committees? Well, the structure, if there's a problem, is exactly the same, right? I go to the head of the committee and then I go here. I mean, it shouldn't change. No, the structure of like issues should be the same no matter what the committee is. Does that make sense? Right. And then that way there's clarity, because if you're only on the music committee and someone else is on the school site council and you both have the same issue, you know, where you bring that problem to, it goes the same route. So, completely.
So, Griselda, one last thing before we go to the public. I didn't see the facilities committee up there. I know it's not a parent committee per se, but I think we need to expand this presentation to include all the committees where parents can be, have a role, and that it's a set structure. So if there's going to be a meeting, who are the parents and who? Maybe it should be from all the committees, parent representation. The worst thing that I think sometimes happens is when somebody comes in and says, you never consulted with the parents.
Yep.
What does that mean? Does that mean nobody got a letter that went out? Does that mean that individual parent doesn't feel like they were consulted? Because it's hard to process that. It looks like it's getting, you have a plan that's going to work, and we also need to be, we're interested in seeing how they'll track parent participation. It doesn't matter to me how you track it. What I'm interested in is saying, you know, there was 5% parent involvement or 10% parent involvement, but it should always be 100% parents got an email of whatever it is. Because then it'll be easier to say, well, are you on Parent Square? And then we'll hear, no, we're not on Parent Square. Oh, well, did you go to the meeting? No, I didn't go to the meeting. Or did you go? Those are the kinds of things that might be helpful for us to know. But definitely, like if there's a hiring committee, maybe that parent policy should be laid out, or if there's a special needs student committee, or whatever, whenever there's an opportunity, and then how does somebody get selected for that? Because is there a call to parent involvement? You know, if there's 10 people that want to be on the hiring committee, how do you pick? And then also, when they get involved in certain activities, like if they deal with children, I want student privacy to be protected. I don't want the stuff that goes on. Maybe one last thing. The last instances when parents came is that their child was affected by another child. And we want to make sure you have a process for people to resolve those issues. So they're not trying to resolve their issues, you know, in a public forum of a board meeting. Especially now that we're going to start taping and posting every tape. I don't want that kid's mother, this parent, and that. It's very, I want to protect people's privacy. So if you guys have that in your procedures, it doesn't have to become board policy, but if you guys have it in your internal procedures that you already follow, I just want people to be aware as they get involved. Nobody's going to be able to say, well, we need to do something about this student. Oh, okay, calm down. That's not appropriate. Every student has rights, every student has a parent, you know, it's not. And also, can you comment? There's been this discussion the last 3 or 4 months or 5 months about like a discipline committee. What's that all about?
Oh, policy. So there was a committee that we formed to study the harassment committee, harassment policy. So we established a committee because there was one incident that happened that prompted us to review the harassment, the bullying and harassment policy. So that committee will continue meeting. I think the parents have given a lot of valuable feedback, but it's not like an established committee. So that's one thing that we need to discuss, like how many committees do we want? And if every time there's an issue, we're gonna establish a committee, it's gonna be way too many committees.
But you know that community school site counselor.
Yeah, that's what.
Because once you have sorry, let me just jump in, but once you have that school site council, something like bullying would come up at that meeting, right? So within your school site council, you would have a few people say, okay, well, we're gonna investigate that. So I think that structure alone will help with some of the conversations around issues that just kind of pop up.
All right, so we're gonna go in reverse order this time. Jesus, and then the other Jesus.
Which,
And then we're gonna end with Mrs. Castello. Jesus, okay.
Gracias. Yo quiero empezar con cómo fue que creamos este espacio, ¿verdad? Y fue los principios que el doctor Ochoa, Marisarán y la maestra Fimbres, ellos me dijeron tres cosas. La escuela va a tener éxito, ¿verdad? Con tres patas, ellos le llamaban tres patas. El personal incluye todo, el maestro, directora, todo el gente, ¿verdad? Las familias y la comunidad. Esas eran las tres patas, ¿verdad? Y ellos hablaban de tener una relación de respeto, ¿verdad? De las tres partes que funcionan para tener una escuela exitosa. Y eso fue la fundación por la cual hacemos una charla. En ese sentido, ¿verdad? Fue de que formamos la escuela con esos principios, ¿verdad? Y padres y comunidad trabajando juntos con el staff, con el personal, tienen que estar en la misma sintonía, en el mismo nivel. No somos más, pero no somos menos, ¿verdad? Fíjate el principio, ¿no? No somos más, pero no somos menos. Nos respetamos, cada quien tiene su lugar, ¿verdad? Y yo le voy a platicar un ejemplo concreto de que estoy hablando, ¿verdad? A través de las relaciones, conseguimos traer comida y a distribuir comida aquí en la escuela, aquí en EJE. Este fue el año antepasado, ¿verdad? Y nosotros, los padres y miembros de la comunidad, distribuíamos la comida estuvimos distribuyendo por meses, ¿verdad? Pero luego después, un empleado de la escuela tomó esa responsabilidad. Qué bueno, ¿verdad? Y lo que sucedió fue que posteriormente no era solamente un empleado, estaban 4, a veces hasta 5 empleados, ¿verdad? Haciéndose trabajo con otros voluntarios también, pero 4 o 5 empleados cuando los padres y los miembros lo hacíamos completamente, ¿verdad? Entonces, ese es lo que yo me refiero cuando decimos parents engagement, darles esa respeto, gente adulta que puede hacer cosas en beneficio de la escuela, en beneficio de la comunidad, en beneficio finalmente para los estudiantes, ¿verdad? Eso es lo que me refiero con parents engagement.
Sin que le
Tratar-
cueste a la escuela.
¿Perdón? Sí, no
Sin
te-
que le cueste a la escuela.
sin que le cueste a la escuela un centavo, un penny. ¿Ya? Y hay un montón de gente que lo queremos hacer, mucha gente, porque ¿cómo fundamos la escuela? Voluntarios, no costó un centavo. Ese es el concepto que, hombre, que se entiendan.
Gracias, señor Pacheco. Jesús Gazzetelo.
No, yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think this is probably the most thorough, probably documentation that we've seen of the committees and groups. So, I mean, I think to kind of just to speak to some of the comments earlier, I mean, I think, you know, when someone brings an issue and they're not heard, and you know they bring it to a higher authority and they're not heard, then you know they're going to go out, you know, out of the organization to someone that is going to hear them, right? So it just doesn't happen because they felt like, hey, I'm going to go out to wherever, right? There's a reason that people are going out to do that. So when we're not communicating appropriately, hey, these are the different committees that are happening, and here is how you can apply for them. Here is when they're needed. Here is what happens in that meeting. Here are the decisions that they've made. So, you know, that's kind of where when people say, hey, we didn't know what happened, or, you know, even in these board meetings in the last, you know, few that we have been recording them, I mean, we have been seeing people logging in, viewing what, you know, and actually seeing what, you know, what transpired in the meeting, because, you know, some people can't come on Saturday for a variety of reasons, right? So yeah, so I mean, it's great to have kind of that structure, but there also has to be that communication piece, that transparency piece of, hey, we're going to notify you 72 hours before, because the majority of these committees do have to comply within Brown, right? Unless you create a green policy for the Green Act, and then you don't have to follow Brown. But that's, you know, speak with your legal counsel for that. So those are things that you have to kind of, you know, take into account when you're putting these things into action. So kind of the other kind of last comments here are some of the things that I didn't see from previous I think presentations, like coffee with the principal, safety committee, DLAC, EIC, or the cases group.
Thank you, Mr. Gazzetelo. Mrs. Gazzetelo.
I wanted to share a little bit of like the parent part, because we're talking about parents like sharing information with you, and I think, sorry, I get emotional because it's like so connected to myself as a parent. Like, I love and respect this school. So I remember when my son started kindergarten, I was so excited to volunteer. I signed up to volunteer, and I did come into the classroom. I would take things home and help my son with that. I would cut things and do things. She needed snacks, I would bring her snacks. So I was really engaged. And I remember trying to figure out, like, how do I get more engaged? And that was a clue. So like when we're saying, like, you know, who's who at the school, there's just a staff, like directory. There's no, like, other than, sorry, I don't know the position thing, so I'm just gonna say, Mr. Johnny was far, Ms. Mesa, like, there wasn't a, like, how to access resources, how to be able to be more involved, and that was missing, and it has been missing, right? It's still not available, and it sounds like it is going to be available. So that part of, like, as a parent who doesn't have the ability to always come to on Zoom or there wasn't reports afterwards. So that disenfranchises a parent. And I think that, you know, your point, Mr. Gazelle, around like, the disability piece, like, and I mentioned it, because I think it is a disability rights issue. I don't have the ability for my child to tell me, hey, mommy, like, this is who this person is, or this is who that person. And if there's not an ability for me to figure out how all these issues are, it becomes more of a barrier. So that part where if we can make it accessible, like you were saying earlier, of like, you know, like within the committees, but like, let's say I did want to join the committee, right? How can I, as a parent, look that up on the website, be able to know when things are happening? But I think the piece about it that like I hear you're like saying like, oh, you know, parents are upset, and like I know what it must feel like. I empathize with what it might feel like on the other side, but I think that part of like asking the curiosity, like why are parents upset, right? And I know that this is a systemic issue, and it's not just a last year issue. I think that the big piece is that there is a lot of protective factors with the relationships that the families have with certain individuals. This is a longer issue, right? So I think that part of like I remember preparing a few months ago of like talking about like how do we like support that communication, and I think that like looking at restorative justice and so like again the accountability that I take as a parent, accountability that other people take is really important. But there needs to be some more like open discussion around like how do we, you know, how do we support that progress? And I think that that's one of the things is that I, as someone who's worked with parents, like the anger and the frustration that you're seeing is passion, right? It's passion for their children. It's passion for the school. And I think that sometimes it is hard to like feel it, right? And I think that that's the part where, you know, I asked like the board, I asked the administration of like, I know it's like, you know, I empathize with how much they're being on that receiving end. But the part is that like, you know, the more that we open communication, the better. So I think we're all on the same page, right? And yeah, it's going to look different, but I think that that's the part of like, I think if we prioritize this having engagement, we are going to be able to improve those scores. And everything that like all the pedagogy, oh my goodness, what is it? Pedagogy, yeah, all talks about peer engagement, right? So I think that if that would be the mission of like this year, I think we can get to in a few months, in a year, to get that elementary, kindergarten TK building, and we can see all these things. So I asked the board if that could be maybe the focus of this year. How do we regain trust in all parts of this all stakeholders, right? And one of the things that I had emailed individually is inviting, you know, trustees to meet with parents. Yes, with some protective factors, safeguards, because I want parents to like staff trustees to feel like that they're going to be attacked, because that shouldn't be a place in the school. But like, so, you know, maybe that can happen, right? Where we can get to know who our trustees are, right? Like, there's not a lot of information of like who do we see, and not all parents can have, again, like without being reported, without it, parents don't know who it is. So it feels like us. It feels like the Wizard of Oz, that all these decisions are being made, and you know we're the smaller, because sometimes we do have less. There's less privilege or less like.
I know what I was saying.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that I would ask if, you know, if this could be one of the things that can be the, I don't want to say priority. Again, academics is always priority, but the connection between the two. Thank you.
Thank you. So Griselda, one of the things that I feel or experience is sometimes when I hear, you know, our enrollment is the easiest way for me to see that people are happy or unhappy. And it's the 750 other parents or families that we never hear from that remind me they're busy, they have an expectation, we have systems of parent engagement, that they need them. And so I think that's why there needs to be some clarity on what all the structures are. And I too noticed, Mr. Rizzo, that you didn't mention principal with a parent Talking to the parent, I don't know what that really benefits, I know
Well,
it's,
I didn't consider that a committee,
that,
but it's more like a meeting.
but yeah, so
It's
it's parent engagement, so it's just another
Yeah.
space. And I also heard Jesus Pacheco talking about, how the ownership people gain by volunteering. I mean, and I just think of Jesus every day, helping with checking in kids and checking in safety. 3 years or the 2 years that I've been here, that's what I experienced about him, and he tells me, oh, we have this and we have that, and I know, and this is happening. Used to happen over there, no, I don't know. So I think one of the things that we have to do is build a culture where everyone can have ownership of things that happen in the school, but the school always has to be the main body. And so we need to work with parents and parent volunteers and parent contributors so that it's always how we're making decisions for the 864 kids that come here. Let's say they're represented by 700 families. Maybe some have multiple kids, but we need to figure out how to do things for the 700 families or so. I don't know how many we have. Because I think that's the only way it's going to stay fair and equitable. Just from seeing a lot of the input and testimony, it really saddens me when the issues of the adults become the issues of the kids. I've been in school environments enough to know how that happens, right? So the teachers rely on whatever relationships they have, and they turn them into public statements. And I'm like, why what really hurts me emotionally is when I see, I think I heard somebody say, my daughter isn't sleepy. Why is your daughter involved in the adult stuff or that kind of thing is what is concerning to me. So I want parent involvement to be fair, to be just, to be focused on the number one thing we do here is student achievement, student happiness, student success. The parents are part of the adults, and I want the parents and the personnel that work here to feel welcome. But I want to make sure our culture is centered around with the students. Now, one thing that we haven't discussed, we have a community grant that is supposed to help us bring in the community and facilitate things like what you do. But I think this year should be another reboot of what that looks like and how many community partners are out there and what they bring. And I think we do need a protocol for everyone. Once something gets started, I think it should be free whenever possible, but it also needs to be monitored. So I like that staff is involved. Maybe not take over or be taken out of classrooms or anything like that, but to the extent that staff are involved, I want to see that. If it's on this campus, it should be a school, always a school-led, school-monitored, school-facilitated kind of activity. And so I want parent involvement to be broad and it should be interesting. My memo that launched about shifts a few years ago also talked about an adult school, because I'd love to see literacy programs. And with all due respect to what PK is able to do, I'd love to see adult educators coming to work in Spanish or English or whatever other language is needed and do adult learning that the parents can do. And then the last thing I'll say is I want to be having language-centered activities be cool. That's why I'm hoping we can have plays, we can have poetry readings, we can have speeches, we can have music, we can have art. And I want parent involvement to bring their kids into more language development, language activity. I watched Channel 11 from Mexico City. quality of the program, it's like KPDS in Mexico, the quality of the program and the knowledge that just grows from just watching these shows. And I have a degree in Latin American Studies, and I'm always learning new things. I have a degree in Spanish too, and I'm always learning new things. And so I'm just hoping that parent involvement deals with some of the perfunctory things that we need to get done, like how to use your LCAP money, how to do these things. But I also want, and this is part of bringing the community in, I would love to see subtitled films so that anybody can watch them. And maybe there's a talk back after the film. It's facilitated. Because it should be cool to come here. This room should be, whenever we work out the ramp situation from the front of the building, this should be where you come and watch a film on a Saturday afternoon or during the weekday, and if the students aren't using it, because that's not for forever. But I just think that's part of building the culture of making it a community-centered space where we can solve a lot of things. We can come and get your health care here. I've seen that happen. We can come and get all these other things. So that's my reaction. I do like your PowerPoint that's starting to outline. And eventually I'd love to see grade level parent advisories. Like the TK parents, what do they need? The middle school parents, what do they need? I don't want to spend a lot of money building those structures as the first thing, but I love that you're laying it out and that there's a process and that people can do that. Dee Fernandez and I used to lead the Parent Involvement Center for the entire San Diego Unified. She and I used to do evening parent events in Sweetwater School. And just teaching a parent to read their transcript was something that we did. And, I would come I would go and buy fried chicken and food so that everybody, we could sit down and say, well, this is what this means. This is what the standardized test scores mean. So I know that kind of parent involvement can occur, and I hope that's where we're heading. So that was my initial reaction. So I call on Karen and they'd love to share. And again, we're here now, so it'll be wonderful to see what you accomplish in a year's period. And I'd love to have a board meeting where we just focus on parent involvement. So maybe in the spring we can have all your parent groups represented by their leadership come and talk to us, and maybe we can have a joint board meeting where we have the board and the advisory parents. We can have a discussion about what's working, what needs to be improved, now that would be something beautiful to take and put out there. And so I will acknowledge one thing. I don't think we prepared our families for the unionization of our kids. Many of us who have been in those environments know how that works and know how volatile it can be. But I think we can prepare our parents to see what the teacher advocacy that needs to happen. The teachers need to do what they do. Because I've been a union member for 28 years, until February, in my youth. But I think we need to train so that they can see that their best interest of their child and the best interest of that adult are not going to be the same thing. And what we see sometimes in our board meetings is when that becomes one. And that's why we're talking about. Should I listen to parent input when it's about the adults? Because I would love to hear if math, my kid isn't learning in math, I know how to address the executive director to do that. When it's about somebody's pay or job or things like that, we're negotiating. We have our methods and mechanisms. So that's something that probably we need to prepare our parents. Let's say we have a contract for 3 years. We need to prepare everyone and create guidelines, even encourage our staff, you have a right to be the strongest advocate you can be for your contract and your pay. But just be fair to everyone else in the community because it's in one of the meetings we just had, my daughter has a snap repeated. What? Why is that happening? Why are the adults impacting the student? And so I want that known. By the way, I'm happy to share a broader bio of who I am for the website. An updated picture because I've lost some weight since that picture. But, you know, if people were aware of Dr. Julio Kaplan, of Yolanda, Maxine, and Eva's contributions, I think we're going to find that people are going to recognize, I mean, I grew up in a trailer park, and my processes of achievement through education, public education, are a story I'm happy to share if it can help somebody. I went through bilingual education. I'm hoping that I can share, and I consider myself to be biliterate and have dual literacy. I want that to be known. I don't have a certificate, but I'm wondering if there's that kind of certificate for adults. Because I would love to see if we can get more parents to have a biliteracy certificate so they're co-learners with their kids.
Well, you can do the seal. No, you know, the seal of biliteracy, I think you have the seal of biliteracy, you're right. So, you know, you can, any group, like the San Diego State now has a seal of biliteracy, right? So that's something that you can create. But I just wanted to add on to, and I kind of lost where I was going to go because I was already speaking then. But I think that the presentation, one of the things I wanted to wrap back to is I wrote down, because you had mentioned something about coffee with the director, whatever that was, have a seat. I think that it would be helpful, and I don't know if the next board meeting is appropriate, but I think it would be good, not this whole presentation, but I'd like to see, here are the informal ways that parents can be engaged, and here are the formal ways, right? And then just sharing like that couple of those slides that have all the different committees. And then if there's a contact person for each one, and even the one like the school government, since that's not set up yet, maybe it's a parent engagement person, but I think that if you could do a short presentation like that, that will help. And then even though all the parents aren't here, obviously, it's something that can get posted. But I think that for an initial communication at the beginning of the school year, just having even a little poster in the front of the school that's like, here are the informal ways, here are the formal ways. And the formal ones, here's a contact person, right? You have your formal number or however. Then that way there's no like mystery. Because I think what happens is that it's like, okay, so these two parents are here, and you know the game of telephone. Well, by the time you tell one parent, and then that parent, and then we translate it because then it's in English, then it's in Spanish. Well, all of a sudden, that committee is impossible to join because in that word of mouth, something gets lost. But if everyone can say, "Oh, there's a poster when you walk in the school," then that's all you need to know, and then you can see that there. Do you see what I mean? Like, so I think that I would like to see something like that. Even though some of these committees are not formed yet, you could just have it. This is our proposal. We've got a little description. But anyway, that was kind of my aha moment based on like some of their comments as well. But I do think that that would really help. And then we could even do like cafecito with the board or something, you know, where we set a date. Whoever's available comes at that time, like once a month or something. Because I do think it is important to hear our stories as well. You know, I'm a product of Mesa College. And, you know, I mean, things like that, you know, you're not going to get shared, but then we start to see that, you know, going back to Senor Pacheco's conversation, like, we're all at the same level, right? And what happens is we get into these hierarchies, and then it's like, oh, no, you know. But, you know, like my mom used to tell me, just because you have a PhD doesn't mean I can't tell you what to do.
Oh, we
I mean, but my mom kept me, like, you know, humble, right? Because why? That's why, you know, when you come from that community, and I didn't come from this community, but the community I came from, right? Like, we had to come back Like, there was no, like, you can go to California, Karen, but you're still here. Like, so anyway, I just wanted to, I think that was my recommendation though, was about the groups. I think that will help.
Eva?
No, I don't have too much to say. I think with the presentation that you made, I think we are in the right direction. I think I would like to say thank you because I'm gonna say it is her first year. First year.
Starting her second year.
And for her to come and found a house full of issues. Well, I say, entró a una casa sucia. So, and she needed to clean it. She needed to clean it. And yet, the first thing was the child renewal. Because we were at least like not being new because the student achievement.
It was bad.
And the only thing, and I can say it, the only thing why the board faster, because we have the new leadership. And they trusted her because they knew the school will be moving forward. So then, especially, and I remember I told him, and he said, this is going to be very hard because, when she knew that the district will increase the cost for almost $1 million, she said, there's no way. So, and now we're going to have our own special ed services, thanks to her, because she didn't have things. Then doing the PK 8th grade school,
Combining the two.
combining,
Yeah.
and it was not because she wanted to do it. Budget was better. So just that process, and I think this is gonna be the year that really is gonna you're going to relax a little bit, but the war. Not relax in a way that you're gonna see and see. No. That you put in place structures that will work, and that you have a team that works with you, not against you. I think that's a big change. So, and I want to say thank you because I still trusting in people.
We need to get this
Good.
on.
But, yeah. And so, Griselda, one last thing. I think parents also need to be involved. One of the literacy things we're going to do is on our reserves. And because we've done special ed, we have costs that we're not aware of yet. And they will emerge, and we can't go to Cajon Valley anymore. So our reserves are going to be part of getting us through whatever that new need is going to be, and I don't know what it is. But we've never operated as the independent, and so I can tell you as a board, we're going to protect our reserves so that we are empowered to serve those kids. My mantra this year is going to be, we are kid-centered. We'll work with our adult relationships with it. We are kid-centered, and I don't want to hear that we don't have this or we don't have that. We have resources right now to tend to things. And if we can operate to send the student out to get it wherever they need to get it. Because that's our new responsibility that we took on as a board, and we cannot mess with it. philosophically, I'm glad we're all aligned in that. Some people say, well, we need to stop doing that. Or don't let the kids in. Some charters do that. We're not there. I'm glad we're not there. That we are going to protect our resources to do that. But tell parents, and one of the things that will happen in September, October is we're getting better at our economics and telling the story of the economics, and people need to see where everything is committed. So when we meet with your special ed director, we need to hear what's the contingency plan and what's the amount that needs to be set aside for that contingency, because we're so lucky to have that person who has that level of experience and the HR manager who has that level of experience. If they came here, we are very fortunate because they have the experience in the principal. Well, we're going to get to that. So, we took a lot of time with this parent topic. We're now going to move to what hopefully will begin the board's conversation for the rest of the year. We can take a 5-minute break. I know the translator needs it. I'm not here yet. So let's take a little 5-minute break in case anybody needs to bio. And then we'll come back to Ray's presentation. And Ray, you're going to go through your presentation, then we'll hear from the public, and then we'll react. This is always the interesting one because we're looking at structures that need to be translated for everyone. Okay.
In progress. Okay, we are starting to record and look at the slide. Oh, first let me share it. All right. Sure, you want me to sit there so I can like myself? Which bad race last night? Oh, it was a bad race last night. You were? I know, right? I've never seen a more exciting game. I was like, yes! So, anyway, good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. I'd like to really say thank you for those conversations. And when you said kid first, student first, that's my theme this year. It's going to be student first. It's going to be a little tough, knowing all this noise in the background and everything. It's almost like I feel as a principal that I need to insulate. Like I need to insulate the students from the noise, the teachers from the noise, so we can really focus on the teaching and the learning that happens, because that's what needs to happen. So if you see right now in the presentation, it starts with, I love this from Stephen Movie, begin with the end in mind always. Where do you want to see the school in 20 years? Where do you want to see the school in 10? Where do you want to see your children, our students, in 20 years, in 10 years? Our 8th graders, where do you want to see them next year? Are you going to be okay in high school or not, right? So for teachers, the same thing. For the professional growth, for the professional path, of course, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? So I always like to start with that vision, and right now that vision is not going to be my vision. It's going to be a collaborative vision. It's going to be the vision of everybody here, actually. And we already have a vision, right? We already have a vision. We just need to know, is that the vision? Do we need to revise a vision? Do we need to strengthen the vision and amplify the voices of the vision? What is that, right? So you have seen this in the past board meetings. I believe when Ms. Delgado did the outcome presentation, you saw this. This is public data. This is from the California School Dashboard. This is how the schools, districts are graded by California because they fund us. So this is the school dashboard, and I want to focus only on academic engagement or academic achievement for our purposes here, because I want to focus on teaching and learning. Like you said, the kids, the students, the learning of our students, because whether we like it or not, it's going to be their future, not ours. And we are just going to be a part of it. So when I look at this as a principal, and this is what I like about this kind of work, is that this is how I can go to any school and find out where they currently are. Yes, these scores are from last school year, because this school year is not going to be published until probably November. It's always delayed. It's always delayed by the California Department of Education. But this is called the school dashboard, and you can see here right now English, math, English learner progress,
Why? Because we have a lot of ELs. We have a lot of English learners here. So just to interpret this, it's nice to see the colors, right? So look at the color, red, we don't want to be there, we want to be on the blue. So you can see where we are in English, math, and English learner progress, or ELs, in elementary. But the other thing I want you to see is this. How many are making progress? This is the other one I want you to see. How far away are they from the actual standard, like the general standard? So the thing about moving from, I don't know, when you went to school, it was the California Standards Test and the California High School Exit Exam. You remember it was a No Child Left Behind approach, right? And the schools were graded, the students were graded, right? But it's almost like a curved grading. You're all supposed to get here. That's why I always like the students who are actually here, because you can see the progress. If you're already up here, you're either going down or just going a little up. In the case of SBAC, it is measuring student and school growth. Where were you then? Where are you now? How much did you grow or did not grow? It really wants to see, are you moving or are you not moving? So it's not looking at you all have to get here. Yes, we want to be on standard. That's the standard, right? So this is the line of the standard. Think of a number line in numbers, right, on the chart. Where are we in math? Are we above the line or lower the line? Right there. Do we keep going down or are we going closer to the line? Are we above the line? Are we going up or are we going down the line? So I always tell people, look at it like a chart. Like that zero axis right there, right? And then how many are increasing? Now, the good news is, even if we're below, we went up. That means in the previous year, we were 63 plus 11.5 below the line. We went up 11.5. So we're getting closer to the line, right? The same thing with English. So if you look at this, struggling here. More than 50% of our students, our English learners, are making progress, which is good. They're making progress, and that's usually the LPAC, the English Learner Proficiency Assessment. That's the Spanish translation. Now this is the middle school. Okay?
Not so good.
You can see that as our 6, 7, 8. Because testing starts in 3rd grade. LPAC starts earlier, because it's just how they speak English, right? So this is the middle school. You can see English. You can see math, 90.2. Again, look at that number line, where we are. You can see English, they maintain 0.5 points, which means they're still down, but they haven't really moved up or down, which is good, right? But we still want that to keep moving up, to get to that line. The same thing with math, they increased 5.1 points. And that's in a year, by the way. That's in a year, and this is, of course, going to stay. And then our ELs, less than 50% of them are making progress, but 11.8 are actually not making progress. They're actually going lower. So if you think ELD, think ELD 1, 2, 3. So instead of going to, I'm in 1, I'm going to go to 2, I'm going to go to 3, we have somewhere in 2, and all of a sudden went to 1 in that testing. So yes, the colors are beautiful, but sometimes you have to kind of understand what this means. And this is the work that I'm looking at. That's the work I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the work like we all want to be in blue. Of course we want to be in blue. But this is really the work. Right here. This is Espanol. Now, this is the achievement gaps. This is where are our Hispanic kids doing better? Are English learners doing better? Our students with special needs, are they okay? And of course we have Hispanic, Latino right here. And what did they say again? The red is the very end, the blue is the best one, right? And then you start going like that. So if I go back, Yellow is the middle. So you can see in elementary who's struggling, red, orange, which ones are struggling? Are they English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged, students with disabilities? You can see in elementary who's struggling. So in English language arts, two groups are struggling. In mathematics, students with disabilities. That's why I'm so happy we have this department, because we need a whole department for this. Again, I'm looking at academic achievement. I'm not looking at this part really right here. And then if you notice in the EL progress, they only did English learners, which is look, green. Regardless if somebody went down, we're on the green, because we actually went up. So here, we're talking English learners and students with disabilities are the ones with achievement gaps. They're not up to their peers. This is middle school. Red is like good. And who's struggling the most? This is a new designation in dashboard. This just happened last year. That wasn't there before. The reason why they did that is because we have so many long-term English learners, and they are those students who are English learners, right? But they cannot be classified. That means they can't pass LVAC. After how many tries? Okay? So when our students come in and their whole language is Spanish, they get reclassified as English learners and they get tested right away. Right? They get tested right away. Where do you want to put them? ELD 1, 2, 3. Now, if they're like fluent in English, they're called initially fluent. That means they don't need English learner support. Now, if they don't pass it, that means they're an English learner. And you have to keep taking it. LPAC every single year, which tests how they listen, read, write, and speak in English. In English, from the little ones. They get tested like that. Now, there comes a point, how many tries do they get? 2. When they don't reclassify in the second year, now they're designated as long-term English learners. Now think about this. We have our English learners here since TK. Since TK.
In a dual language.
In a
program.
dual language program school. So why are we getting LTELs not progressing? If they've been learning, they've been getting strong in their home language and learning English proficiency since they were in TK, how come by middle school they're at the lowest end in English and math? Right? Then our students with disability, if you notice there's no score, that's because there's not enough students. It's privacy. So there's a certain number of percentage of students that they can publish. They cannot publish if they don't hit the percent, a certain, I think it's 10%.
Yeah,
It's less than 10%, right? Yeah, it's a privacy thing. That's the reason why, just because you don't see it doesn't mean we don't respect kids. We do. It's just that for privacy reasons, right? So,
Do you know what the, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I'm just curious, what is the percent of LTELs? So I'm hearing, like,
Yeah.
of our student population, middle school students.
The 240 middle school students.
Well, 240 middle schools, right? And so that's where you will, I would think you'll see something later just for
Okay.
LPAC. Just for
That's
LPAC,
what
because that's
I'm wondering.
ELs, yeah. That's LPAC. Now, I wanted to see, because that was obviously from the last year.
Yeah.
I wanted to see current, what do they have? And this is part of the hard part of my job right now, and that's in the month, is just looking for stuff. Organizing, who speaks this, who communicates this, who does this. It's really trying to, I'm not restructuring anything. I'm just trying to figure out what do we currently have and making sense of everything so that it can be presented and facilitated in an organized manner. Okay, one perfect example of that is that we don't have a school year calendar. What you see on the website is an important dates. One pager, we don't have a school year calendar calendar from August to June that has all the dates, and then these ones are in yellow because they're all gray. We don't have that. I created that yesterday, just so you know. So that's part of the growing pain of being in a new institution, of course, right? So I wanted to see what do we have currently, like what do we have based on what the teachers have done this previous year. So NWEA is actually an assessment platform. It is recognized, it's pretty credible, and it's aligned to the Common Core State Standards. So I did research the NWEA, and they do the NWEA test for reading, for Spanish, which is good because we're a dual language school, for math, and for science. So this is a little bit more current based on the students instead of waiting for the SBAC score that is going to be delayed a year. So in reading, you can see this is the percentile. Again, blue is the best one. Red is the lowest percentile. And this is the overall percentile. Okay? What's our lowest percentile?
Our high, our standards.
We're on the 19th percentile for reading Spanish. I'm not saying this is good, right? We know we need to work on it, but at least we don't have to start from the very bottom. But it's Spanish. And it's Spanish. So again, they've been here since TK.
And that's also, right?
Yes, so this is, yes, this is overall. This is all grades.
You
Yeah.
see the head counts on the far right.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, that's say all grades. I wanted you to see it all. It's gonna break down on the slide actually the individual. I just wanted you to see it all.
When did they give that exam?
They give it they just do it themselves. It's a teacher administered one. So the assessment coordinator pushes it out and then the teachers just administer it to the kids. They actually give the exam like a pre-test to see where the kids' levels are around the beginning of the school year.
So they haven't taken it yet.
They haven't taken it yet right now.
This is the second year that we bought a standards-based curriculum in Spanish and English. This is
Yeah.
the second year that they're using standards-based because in the previous world, they were developing their own stuff.
Yeah, like your open educational resources.
Yeah.
That's a good data.
So this is kind of, because I wanted to see where we are, right? When you make decisions, you always have to consider all the data.
Mhm.
And so these are the details. If you see the grade levels, look at the reading. So this look here, where are they on the percentile, which grade, right? So in elementary, I think it starts in second grade. So our TK to first grade has graded. This is the reading. This is Espanol. It's grade 4, 6, and 7. And maybe that's the reason why we have LTELs, not reclassifying.
Yeah.
Right? This is, you can see it, right? And then this is the math, which is not bad at all, right? There's no reds, right? You can see the math. These are the lowest. We're actually doing very good in second and kindergarten. Yay, right? And then this is the science. Science only starts in 5th grade. We do have the science test for the California. We do have that. Okay? And then, so I looked at all this data, and again, this is just me listening. There's a lot of listening that's been going on. I've met with so many teachers, and that's the part when I have conversations with teachers. I want to insulate that conversation from the talk about the union, the board. I want us to just focus on teaching. There's too much loud noises outside. But the number one reason why students achieve is the teacher. So I want to protect that teaching and learning that happens in the classroom. It is their right to do what they need to do as professionals, of course. But when it comes to the classroom, it's our students. It's our students. Are we achieving or not? That's my priority. I would even venture to say that's my priority before the calendar that I created yesterday, but I have to create it for my own organization, right? So the problem that I'm seeing, again, overall from seeing the data, is that in math, we're 19.2 points below standard. Now, if you look at that compared to all other districts, that is not bad. I've seen 150 below standard. The reason why I want to highlight that is because if they're 19.2 points below standard, and they go to high school with integrated math, they're going to struggle and they may not graduate. Math, for most high schools in the whole California, by 11th grade, you take SFAC, math is the lowest one in all of California. The other thing about math is that there's a CSU, or California State University. If you pass SFAC, you're good in math when you go to San Diego State. Our students are not. They're not going to meet it in the 19.2 points.
Right.
So again, think your vision. 8th grade is just 8th grade, right? If you're kindergarten, that's just 7 young years away. But for our 8th grader, they have less than 4 years for employment opportunities and college. Less than 4 years. EL progress declines in middle school. If they don't reclassify, I will venture to say, if they don't reclassify in middle school, they will not reclassify in high school. It's just like a test. The test you take in kinder is going to be a lot easier than the test you will take in 12th grade. In high school, they're going to keep doing this, and it's a lot more complex, and they're going to take it here. And when you don't reclassify, it could also impact the classes you take, even in a community college. So again, employment opportunities, future, right?
I worked at a middle school in San Diego a couple years ago. I was actually the EL coordinator, believe it or not, in retirement. But one of the things, because I worked, it was just in middle school, and we had a small number of English learners. That's how I know about the special needs, because we had such a small number, we couldn't put it out. But one of the things that really impacts, and I'm just sharing this with you, and you may probably know this, but some of these students had taken the LPAC since kindergarten, right? And they weren't taking it seriously. And what's really, I guess, and the other thing is that some of them were just missing because there's 4 tests. And unfortunately, they had to take the whole thing, even if they were just struggling in like the academic area. So one of the things I did with the EL teachers is we just basically, and I've met with some of the teachers, but we just talked to the kids about what they weren't going to get in high school, what they did pass, and then we just did some targeted exercises. And I was really proud that, because especially for the 8th graders, because you're right, those 8th graders, man, they're the ones like, but they all passed it except for 1. And when I started, there were like 7. But once we did that targeted work with those kids, we got them to also understand and buy into it, right? I'm like, look, you already know these skills, so let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the one area. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. But
yes, it is targeted and intentional. You really have to. So achievement gaps, again, you've seen that where I was looking at, which student groups. Elementary, students with disabilities. That's our biggest achievement gap, is students with disabilities in elementary. Okay? In middle school, it's our ELs, it's supposed to be small. ELs and our LTELs. Again, because in middle school, LTELs is its own group in that report grading for California. Before, they used to all just be ELs. Now they separated it. In NWEA, I think you've seen it. I don't have to say much, right? We're in this percentile. Do we want to get better? Of course. But if there's something that we're gonna like, okay, you're given the 4 and you're gonna only die in one thing. What is that? Spanish. We're a dual language. So,
Yolanda, that presentation was for you.
presentations for you.
We've been harping on it from the time I came, Yolanda.
So I researched what's the program, like what's the building, the program de evaluación política, right? I wanted to research that. What is it that they do? This is what we currently have. This is what we have. Okay, when the school was founded, this is what we have. It's 1910, we're 1910 program, which becomes 50-50 by fourth grade. Yet you saw how fourth grade struggled on that data. And then by sixth eighth grade, it's 2080 already. This is the Spanish, this is the English, right? So I wanted you to see that that's what we have, because I had to find out where it is, going through all the files. Now, you've seen this in Spanish, where we are. Grade 4, 6, and 7. 6 and 7 is middle school. And again, look at 6 and 7, it's 2080. In fourth grade, it's 50-50. And that's where we struggle. Now, this is the elementary, and this is what you saw. It doesn't give you how many, but here, this is good. These are your English learners who went, they progressed, they're working towards up, right? But these are your English learners right here, who, instead of going up, they went down. They went down. And then these are the ones who just maintained. So that's elementary, that's middle school. Now, the trend, if you see, look at the trend. It used to be 60.3, now it's 48.5. Elementary went up, but middle school went down. But we have kids, look at these kids. They're not reclassifying. That's our, and they've been here since TK, right? So I wanted to show this to everybody because this is where I'm thinking now, like, there's a lot. Right? Being a principal in school, there's a lot. Again, I myself have to insulate myself from all the noise. So I have to be very focused on this. Otherwise, you're going to be a master of everything, and I could be the best calendar appointment taker in the world. I'm very organized. But that's not what I'm here for, right? So how can we build upon the strengths of elementary so we can carry it to middle school or even accelerate it into middle school? Because again, middle school is 3 years. By first semester, 8th grade, it will already determine how they're going to be in 9th grade. It doesn't even take June. It's going to be by December, you already know who's going to struggle in 9th grade or not. It's very accelerated in middle school. How can we intentionally rebuild systems? Looking at the systems that we have that supports our ELs, our LTELs, and our students with disabilities. Because there's systems in place. We just need to know how they're working and how can we make it more efficient, intentional, targeted, so that it actually helps the student groups we want to help. And then 3, how can our dual language program be a pipeline for EL reclassification so that they don't become LTEL? In a dual language school, why do we even have LTELs? Is my question, right? Why do we even have LTELs? So that makes me wonder. That's my curiosity. I like what we're
Yolanda, that's for you too.
right?
Eric.
Well, no, there's confounding,
Why?
there's confounding data, because even that, if you look at their progress in English, I mean, their progress in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah. there's something-
That's what makes me like, and again, it's a reflection. I may never answer this until probably 2 years, 3 years down the road. But I think we need to focus on that. We need to. We're dual language school. If we don't, then what's the point? Right? What's the point? So I wanted to go back to comments. It's really your like main primary researcher when it comes to bilingual education. And this is what he's saying. To the extent that instruction in the first language, that's Spanish, that's what happens in TK 9010, is effective in promoting proficiency in the first language. Are they proficient in their first language? Transfer this proficiency to the second language, it's going to occur. Skills and knowledge acquired in one language will transfer to another. That's why I know I'm going to speak Spanish at some point fluently, because I know the words, it's the grammar part, right? I stood at K2B the other day and said, so, directora, habla español, habla inglés. ¿Habla inglés? español, 50% inglés. ¿Entiendes? Sí. That's why very mini Spanish. And we're communicating, right? And the thing too is this. Just because our students speak Spanish, does that mean they have proficiency in the language? Mi María is in español. Can do this in Spanish, can do this in Spanish, can do this in Spanish. Well, can Maria do academic work in Spanish? Academic. It's this, an academic language. Right? Because social fluency in a language is not equal to academic proficiency. It's not. It takes 2 years, probably, or 2 to 3 years to develop this in any language. But it takes 5 to 7 years to develop this. And bilingual education research will tell you, if a student is dual language, they outperform their peers who are monolingual. They outperform. I want them to outperform their high school peers in high school.
Great, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Go ahead.
This is the first time since I got here
Oh,
that I hear somebody coherently and cogently go through this. I'm very impressed.
oh,
Thank you for coming to our school.
thank you. Thank you very much. I live this. It's what doesn't
No,
mean
but-
so much. I live
But
this.
let me be clear,
Yeah.
Eva and I went to war at the beginning when I first joined about this. You're the first person to go through it systematically like this in a very succinct way
Without asking.
in 20 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
No, you did, yeah.
Thank
I just
you.
want to say, like, because I lived this as well.
Yeah.
And the way you presented that data was, like, I would take that to my students when I used to teach at San
Yeah.
State. You know what I mean? Because I think you get lost in the weeds sometimes.
Yes.
And I think even though you're highlighting the difficulties and the challenges, you're also like highlighting, like anyone can see, okay, if we're dual language, what's the missing piece? And it's interesting that you went to this, because that's what I started thinking. I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be, it's the academic language. So I love that you brought this back to them. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, but it just needed to be said.
I agree.
No, thank you. Thank you. And so this is why I was an English teacher. I was an English teacher, apart from being an English learner myself. I was an English teacher to English learners. I was an English teacher to non-speakers of English, non-speakers of English, like ESL, English in the second language, and they spoke Spanish. And the one thing that I always said was that was even the perfect thing for me, because I could have learned Spanish with them, talking in Spanish to them, but I wanted to develop this. That's where I was. I wanted this. My classroom was full of cognates at some point. My classroom was full, so what I'm interested to see, and I'm curious, the classrooms I will be visiting. And I told the teachers, I'm visiting the classrooms, that's what I love. I want to see it not on paper what you're doing, I want to see what you're actually doing and what the kids are actually doing. I want to see, is your classroom literacy rich in both languages? In both, you have a word book for English, you have a word book for Spanish, right? Do you have both? Even if you're 90-10, even if you're 90-10, it shouldn't just be Espanol and then English is right there. And then before you know it, by 4th grade, 50-50. No wonder the kids are struggling. I would struggle. Think about it, we're learning Japanese. I see old Japanese, right?
Yeah.
I can understand half. I don't even know what I'm doing there, but there's English in the little corner. So how do we develop that so our kids get this? Because once they have this in their first language, it goes to the second language. That brain development, especially at this very young age, that's the very malleable brain matter in the brain. That's why a lot of young kids can learn 2 or 3 languages, because that's that age. My nephews are back from Germany, they're fluent German and English. Fluent. I have friends in the Philippines school in Spanish, Tagalog Filipino, English, and Bisaya. Because that's what they did since they were little, when the brain was very wet. So I wanted to bring that up, and what you're seeing here, the teachers will see. I want you to know that the teachers will see. This is what I mean by, I'm not presenting something different here, and the teachers will see something different. This is the Spanish version. And so what are we doing? I just wanted to see like that and to get excited. How does the year go, right? And I'm such an English teacher. I love alliteration. That's why you see R's. And my name is Ray. I love alliteration. Even in a little presentation like this, and look at that alliteration. They all begin with consonants, R. So in August, which is next week, this is where we are. We're going to reflect upon what we have. What we have is what we have, right? There's good things, there's bad things. What do we actually have? We have new staff, we have new teachers. They have no idea what's going on next week, right? What are those? Let's do that goal setting. Let's recommit to dual language. Let's recommit to bilingual education. What are our action steps? And so a lot of that is finding out what we have, reflection. And we will do that together. This is not like a new thing. This is everybody. Teachers and I will do this. With students, I'd like to do this. By December 26th, I hope we can review where we are and recalibrate. And this is where you do your goal setting and action steps where, okay, we can't be a master of everything. There's no way, right? We have to be a master of something. How do we intentionally focus on things? And we're doing actually it's called the PDSA cycle. And it's like focusing on one thing, planning it, implementing it, interpreting it, and then fixing it, then do it again, the cycle. Because we want to be an expert on it. We don't want to be a jack of all trades, right? By January, after Christmas break, winter break, people are all like, we forgot everything, right? Let's re-engage, let's go again. And then by April, refocus, revitalize. This revitalize, I wanted that word actually because of students. Because we can be the most excited adults in the world. But if our students are not excited about this 2 test, I'm excited to prove what I learned. Let's revitalize. I want it to be for the students. I want them to see why this is important for them. We want to get this. That's why I want to use the word revitalize. Really. Because in most schools, SBAC is here. You're like, I can't blame them, right? Right? So we want to do this. And then June 27, we're going to reevaluate everything again. Where did we go? How did we go? And then let's refocus for the next school year. Are we good at it? Can we add another layer? It's nothing different from teaching. You teach one thing, right? You review it, but you teach another. There's another layer. And then the next day, then before you teach another one, you review the 2. It's recursive. We want to start over and over every single day. We want it to be very recursive. The same thing with professional development group. So that's our plan in a little nutshell. And that's in Istanbul. And I love this from having because I'm not there. Everyone's looking at me. No, I'm not going to tell you what to do. We're going to decide together what we're going to do for our students. Although we can do so little together, we can do a little lot more. So that's my presentation.
Jesus Gastelum, you're first, then Mrs. Gastelum and Jesus Pacheco. Go.
Yeah, no, great presentation. I mean, I think there's so much value in kind of that presentation, especially the part on kind of just the breakdown on the kind of the numbers on the I don't know if it was from the LPAC or what the kind of correct terminology is. But I think just really kind of like that section, being able to present that to the parents and communicating that in even just like that like in that kind of nugget. I'll call it, would be extremely valuable because what we've seen is there's a lot of great content that gets presented in this meeting that never leaves this meeting. Sure, it's on the website, but first we have to know that the website is there, right? So, so yeah, just being able to communicate like, hey, here are the test scores of the students and what it means and how to kind of go through it, I think is a great, I think it was presented very well, just easy to understand. Because I mean, I've seen it before, but I think in a way that it was kind of shared, it was a lot easier to digest. And then second was kind of the, it was great just to see a timeline of implementation. I think that's probably the first time that we've seen, hey, here's a plan, but then there's no real kind of timeline of what that looks like. So, and because the kind of last point is just hope to see kind of the updates as we go on throughout the year in kind of the principal support.
Yeah, this is why we have this. There's always going to be that cycle of transparency. Always.
Mrs. Garcelo?
So for me, yes, thank you for sharing this information. It's very helpful. I had seen it. And so I'm going to share a personal story. So my son is here, has a disability. And I remember asking for, I already had an ID by the time he got here. And I remember asking the school, I want him to be reevaluated because he's not at grade level. And I heard from the special ed staff, and I know it's not the same special ed staff, but I think that maybe a cultural shift where they're like, no, let's wait. And I was like, no, I'm not reading. I know all the research tells us by third grade, if they're not reading at level, that it's the worst that we can see. And when we see the fourth grade, I was like, whoa, what's happening? So like a triennial, as much as the special ed team didn't want to like listen, I was like, no, he needs a triennial. And guess what? His IEP significantly changed because his needs were very like different. And I think that's one of the things that again is Walker. Yes, is that again of like the professional development that IEPs aren't bad, right? That IEPs or looking at how our children learn is this is why we need to be able to support them because that thing is that and then maybe the whole cultural change, right? Of like an IEP isn't a mark on your child. As parents, I'd love to know what my son needed because then I can support him at home. And so that's one of the things that I would invite of that, like inviting that for the professional development and inviting that for parents too. Because I think that now that I personally had that, I was able to help accommodate my child's disability and get extra tutoring and things of that nature. So that's one of the things that stood out to me of like, you know, are we seeing that fourth grade, not just because of the disparities, but are we seeing that because we're not capturing, or we've been waiting to maybe assess someone for special education services until we saw it like in the bigger mark. So that would be one thing that I would kind of think, again, it could be taken into consideration.
Thank you. Jesus?
Well, in a nutshell, you know, I make a reflection on your presentation because through these years, you know, 26 years advocating for bilingual education with my partner. I learned something, you know, from you know, many people, you know. And only when you really know, you know, what you are talking about, you can explain something in a very simple way. And it's a time for EJE to not to work harder, but smarter. And you are in touch.
I'll just reiterate, I'm hopeful, again, that we may be on a new path. You know, let's not look back in the mark, let's look forward. Let's look forward and see what the 49 certificated teachers, educators that are coming into your system can do. One invitation that I'll have for you is what can the parent help the student do to build that cultural, that cognitive language skill development, because I think it's simple things. Listening to academic language, all these things that can help transition them away from just being fluent, but being literate.
Yes.
And I think it's so critical. And you know, it may be that in this day and age, we need to find appropriate YouTube links that can help them get that.
Yeah.
Because the students they won't mind so much if you facilitate it for them. I'm excited that this, I'm very happy. This has been absent from the dialogue that this board has gotten. We haven't seen anything like this in a while. We saw the little temperature gauges, but we haven't had a dialogue with the school principal to have this. And so I'm very hopeful. And this is, you know, what we started earlier today talking about getting back to academic success. I'm hopeful. Ava.
I really I don't have too much to say after your presentation. You know what you are doing, and I want to say what you mentioned. I don't want to hear the noise. The noise is there. I want to focus on this. And if the teachers get the message, the change will happen. Because right now is they bringing all the noise into the classroom, and that needs to stop. So I was very glad to hear that. And for me, that's something that will make a change. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Here.
Everything they said, and yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about it because, you know, I've been part of several, you know, dual language schools, and the very first meeting we had the data. But it wasn't, and a lot of parents had concerns about the test groups, right? And I remember one of the questions I got asked was like, well, how do we fix it? You know, what do we do? It's like, it's complex, because there's not one answer, right? And the way I would like to see, at least this presentation or part of it, for the next board meeting, like after you've met with the teachers, because I do think that this is important for the parents to see, because I don't think I wasn't here previously, but in the year I've been on, there's been several presentations, but what I like about what you shared was we don't have all the answers, but we have processes in place that give us the answers. And I think that's really important to understand, and that it's a conversation. Because you're right, I mean, I was an ESL teacher, like I totally get all that, and there's so many ways when parents understand, like, yes, you know, your child, like, I speak Spanish as well, but you put me into an academic setting, and I'm not going to function very well, right? And just understanding that's how I used to explain to parents when I was working, because they'd say, well, you speak Spanish, like, yes, but if I had to teach math in Spanish, no, like, forget it. You know, so I think that's really, and I've never seen, and I've seen a lot of presentations, but the way you led up to this, no, seriously, like, if I was grading you as a professor, and Christella knows, she was my student, but no, you see what I mean, like, sometimes, you know, I guess, but sometimes people present this concept, and you've seen it, Christella, right? Yeah. Where the message gets lost, and you were able to get it to this point where the message was really clear, because we saw the data that told the story, and you told the story well, and then, you know, putting it here, because now it's like, okay, as teachers, as parents, as community members, we know what we need to focus on, right? So, thank you.
Oh, great. I'll share this. Remember those 700 families you're talking about? I would argue that maybe 15 families are watching our meetings or get the information. So I want to figure out how at the classroom level, by classroom, and parent orientation or open house, these kinds of presentations are introduced so that we can have a good dialogue with the parents about what's at stake for their children. And if you guys can figure out how to get, we have what, 40 classrooms? I'd love to see the 40 classrooms when the parents come, because the elementary school parents come to open house.
Yeah.
I don't know if our middle school parents come, but I'd love to see that this kind of recognition occurs. And maybe one of the ways we do it is you tape it.
I was just thinking that you could tape it at the open house, and then it could be posted, and you could even have like FAQs.
Then, I'll tell you this too, Rhea. We had a really tough meeting a few weeks ago. The language, the discussion was about your language proficiency in Spanish. And this kind of flips it on its head because what you are a language learning scientist. You proved it today. It's really complex and you get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Wait,
Oh, we have one more issue to deal with. So, it's getting late. Our president, you're 15 minutes over your time. Thank you for your work. Yes. So, Griselda, just to update everyone, as you saw in the meeting in June 23rd, we authorized that they put out the proposals. I think they received the proposals and they're going through the process. And today, you saw an agreement that is being requested that we authorize the executive director to move forward. Because it's a construction project, we have to get bids, and we have to go with the lowest qualified bid. And so I'm setting you up, Griselda. Do we have a lowest qualified bid?
We do at this point, and we are ready to move forward. They're just finalizing a couple of things on Joanne's end, and so by Monday we should be posting the winner of the bid. If we approve this contract today, then by Monday we'll be able to complete it, and I will go to sign it, and they'll sign it, and we can start right away.
So this contract does what? It basically allows you to finish negotiating with the lowest bidder?
Well, we take out the bidder because it's by lowest, and this is the contract that authorizes them to start working. So it won't happen on Tuesday. They'll start working towards the end of August. So I didn't want to wait until August 24th for you guys to approve this. So if you can give me authority to go ahead and execute the contract by Monday, then they can start planning right away.
Any questions from Karen or Eva?
No?
Any comments from the public on this?
Yeah, I guess the only kind of comment I have is, so, I mean, when I looked at it, I understood that, I would have figured that it would have been filled out, but I'm guessing because of the timeline, it wasn't. Kind of understand that, but at the same time, we don't have the other kind of presentations, and I'm taking this moment to kind of plug in my other comments that I forgot to make, is to make sure that we're also making the other presentations available. If we can make this contract available, we should also make the other presentations available as well, along with, once we finalize this contract, also making that available as well.
Yes. So, with that, I'm going to make a motion that I hope empowers you to be able to move forward. So I move that we approve this contract language authorizing the executive director to move forward upon confirmation that we have a qualified lowest bid. Is there a second? Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Karen, do you support or no? Support, Eva, do you support or no? And then I support, so there's 3 yays to no nays with 2 absences. Yolanda and Maxine are not present. And I think to be responsive to our members of the public, now that the presentations have been completed and they're ready, you can update the agenda packet so that it has the presentations. The complexity we always have until we get to the point. I'm part of a huge commission called the California Coastal Commission. They have a team of about 60 people working on that agenda. Everyone has their part, and 10 days before it gets posted with everything on there, and then they're doing addendums as they go on. We're a team of very few people, so we will present, and whenever we have the information ahead of time, like the 72 hours, we'll post it. But sometimes we gotta get things done, like today, or the presentations. I don't know what way I was working on it, but I'm sure people were fine tuning, and so the only reason things aren't posted is because they're still being worked on. And so, but we comply, because that's what we were discussing. So we'll do as best as we can. We're not hiring full-time personnel to do more of this. We have a big challenge ahead, and I'm comfortable that we try to improve all of our systems as best we can. But I think we should, maybe on the next time we meet, we should adopt a mantra for the year. Our children's first. And let's give everything we can to those kids. They deserve it. With that, I think we're ready to go. So can I move to adjourn now?
Well, first I want to officially thank Griselda and Maria for their presentation today.
All right, and thanks to everybody who's here. And now we're leaving.